What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of AoS Trash Pandas. I'm your host, Rob, and with me, as usual, is the meat dimension loving amiibo collector, I'm going to guess, Carson. How's it going, Carson?
It's going pretty good. No, I just noticed you had a little rat in your shirt, so I decided to put this creepy little elf toy
Oh, okay.
in my shirt.
I couldn't tell what it was from that distance. I was like, an amiibo? Like, I'm not really...
No. Oh, there's a snowman, too. There we go. Nice.
There are snowmen in the meat dimension?
Yeah, they don't last very long, but they are here.
They get put in people's drinks, usually, I think.
Usually.
Yeah.
Sometimes made into snow cones
Yeah.
and then consumed, but yeah.
Is a snowman meat? Is he like frozen meat or like
Could be.
I mean, because if
be.
he's alive, I guess it depends.
I guess like it would be pretty awful to see a snowman in the winter and then the spring comes and then there's just like a pile of lard on the ground. It was just
You wouldn't even know, really, because it would just wash away. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I've never come across, lard in general. So,
Well, I mean, we do a stream every week. What are you talking about?
hey, these are the jokes, people.
Oh, I just fell off my
Yeah.
Put those back.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I found this little guy, and he brought me a gift, the gift of Warpstone. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
So he just wanted to, chill up there. It's not Hanzo, so I know he's not up to, anything evil. But I'm glad you're keeping it classy, by the way. Like, you could put any meat in your sweater, but you chose Spam,
Spam is what I have available.
That's true.
So
And you can use it for spackle, as Weird Al Yankovic says. And yeah, there's just so many uses for it, right?
yeah, and I think this is expired by like 2 years.
It doesn't matter.
I'm sure it doesn't, but I might be able to use it to poison someone. Even if it wasn't expired, I could poison someone with it. So
That's true. It's weird that you're focusing on the poisoning.
maybe I should play Skaven.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone should play Skaven. And on that note, so we are going to talk about AOS 4 predictions, and that's why I've gone back to Skaven Blight, where I'm happiest. I'm still working on the FEC and whatnot, but if we're predicting AOS 4 stuff, I'm going to talk about Skaven. But first, there is some news. Did you see the rumor engine, or are you seeing it right now?
I did see it before, and I am currently seeing it now as well. So
Okay.
both yes.
Yes, excellent.
I don't know what this could be.
I'm pretty sure it's an antler.
Oh. Reindeer army, maybe?
Yeah, this is interesting because, so the guy I'm working on right now, the Marrow Scroll Herald, does have an antler hanging from his rack of bones.
Interesting.
And I have noticed that on occasion. But whenever I see one of these things, though, I still think of ogres because of the blood pelt hunter.
I see. That's kind of a one-off thing, though. Like, antlers hasn't really been anywhere else in ogres.
It's true. So this could be so first of all, I just want to say, I think it's upside down. I think this is a thing hanging off someone's belt as well. I've got no basis for that because what else could it be? Or I guess it could be Old World. Actually, that's true. Maybe it's like a wood elf thing because they ride a lot of deer and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a wood elf thing. I see what you mean about it's tough because you see that cloth that's wrapped around it.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to know if that's hanging from it or if that's
something's hanging
rope.
from. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, or the opposite, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Wood elf staff maybe for Old World. Yeah, exactly, right? It could be a banner even for wood elves, but they have a lot of deer. There's a great stag riding wood elf lord. There's they need so many different heroes, and we have no idea what kind of order they're coming out in. So yeah, um, that's my
It'd be
guess.
interesting if it was like, kind of playing into the AOS 4 predictions that we're doing. Maybe there's going to be some, actual AOS 4 battle tomes this year sometime, assuming that we get AOS 4 in the summer.
There
That
will
there's going to
be.
be some.
There will be. Like the first ones are always in well, it depends on the year and edition, but it's almost always October
Yeah.
for the first battle tome after the edition comes out. So I'm
Yep.
assuming we'll get like Skaven and Stormcast. Anyway, this is further down the line, obviously, but we can go into that. But I mean, it would be cool. I would predict that we wouldn't. Oh yeah, this is getting into the predictions. Okay, so
Sure.
I'll go with Wood Elves because that just seems like. But that would be cool if it was something like the ultimate like cool thing for me would be if AOS 4 was Stormcast, not Stormcast, but it was Kurnothi and Skaven. We did get a box for them. I really don't see that happening, but yeah. Welcome
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks for joining us. If you're just joining us, we're talking about we're going to be going over our AOS 4 predictions tonight. It's going to be like very what you would expect from us, I guess, like loose form, predictions. I've got a really cool idea for a show coming up, but tonight before, because like we could get an announcement at any point, because we heard, and I don't know if this is supposed to be kept under our hats or not in terms of where they got the information from, but we were told recently that that some people have the rules in their hands, like they're running tournaments and stuff like that. That are
I didn't
taking
hear that.
it
That's interesting.
was it was on our mutual.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
I didn't see that though. Huh.
So
Tell me more.
yeah, exactly. So I heard that there's some tournament in Texas, and I think it's like I think it's like in July or something like that, and late June or early July, and apparently they have the rules. They actually have the rules with them because they need to plan ahead. So that kind of makes sense. It could also just be total utter BS. Like they could just be creating, interest in their tournament or hype or something like that. Because I don't know. It seems early. It seems early even for that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It seems like GW kind of wants to loop more people in that are involved with the community. Like there was a big thing where, and I don't know if I can say the specific people who were going to these things, but I know certain people who were invited specifically by GW to have like a full day like briefing of something.
Right.
And I know multiple people that's been the case for.
Right.
So I could see high profile like content creators and people that are super involved in the community being in the know a little bit about this stuff
That's
further
true.
ahead of time just so they
And
can be prepared.
that's a great point. Like we both know, so I know who you're talking about, at least one or two
One of them.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but and those dates would kind of line up with when we started hearing about that tournament thing. So I hope that's true because it would mean that they really are more organized, I guess, and more like I don't know, focused. Like they seem more locked in if that's the case. And so
Yeah.
yeah,
I
fingers
mean,
crossed.
say what you will about GW and their community outreach. A, I think it's better than it's ever been. And B, I think they are genuinely trying to improve it.
Yep,
So I
I
could see
agree.
them trying to go forward about, having more people in the know, having like certain like hand-picked representatives kind of thing. So
Totally true. Yeah. I mean, say what you will about us, but I think we're pretty fair to them. Like, we don't really. We're the kind of the opposite of hate baiters. Well, actually, no, we're not the opposite. Where we're simping either. Obviously, we don't get anything from those. So these are all guesses, people. But yeah, like we like to look at it from a well-rounded point of view, and I think they're. I agree. I've only seen improvement in the 7 years or so that I've been playing this game. So or it'll be 8 years soon. Wow, I can't believe that. That's crazy. Whatever. Um, yeah, cool. Well, so there's only a couple more things to chat about. This is kind of exciting. So we're getting a re-release of a few of the like older war bands. It seems like what they're doing is they're going back and picking the ones that were popular and re-releasing them, because this Skaven warband came out in the very, very first set of Underworlds warbands. It was like the third or fourth one, right? Along with the Sepulchral Guard and like a few others that still hold up. And we don't get a lot of new Skaven minis, so I guess that kind of lines up with why they're doing this. I know Mollog was a very popular one, and Night Haunt's always popular, and Gits are kind of always popular. So I think that they've kind of cherry picked a few that were really popular, and they're re-releasing them. And yeah, exactly. Buying it. Exactly. Grab them while you can, people. I was lucky to find Zarbag. I bought the Skaven one, obviously, the day it came out. Like, I didn't even know at the time I don't think we were getting AOS rules at the time. I could be wrong, but I was just like, they're Skaven models, so therefore I buy them. Yeah, I was lucky to get Zarbag in a local store, and yeah. These are delicious. These are Underworld warbands that came out years ago for most of them, and you can't buy them anymore. And so not only are they re-releasing them, but they're giving them new rules. Now, they didn't specify that was going to be coming to AOS, but I don't see why they wouldn't, because, like, for example, Spike Claw's Claw Pack here, the Skaven one, his rules, like, they're the worst of anything I've ever seen. Like, they've always, it's like way worse to pick him over a regular Claw Lord. So, like, there's never a reason, but I think they just kept making rules for him, because the first time they were just like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, this is Underworlds. And then later on they were like, these guys, like, were very popular. They sold out, and people still, you know, whatever. But, and Mollog's another one too. I actually bought Zarbag because Dale had this great idea of buying him to use as a what's it called? Madcap Shaman, because the Madcap Shaman that they have looks like Shapoopy. So, and he's on the same base. So I was just like, that's a great idea, you know? And then I've got a few extra minis for other stuff. But yeah. So here's hoping, you know. What up, Bygron? Big Ron, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, Bygron. We'll just let bygones be bygones. Okay?
Well, there's no underscore, okay? Like, forgive me.
That's fair.
Yeah. Maybe that's like a word too that like we just don't know. Like, it could be like begrown or something. It could be like a, you know, one of them fancy foreign words. Anyway, I think they gave us AOS rules so we can keep using them after the Underworld seasons are over. Yeah, exactly. That's part of it. Also, like, it's one of those things that's really sneaky. Like, inside the company, like, I'm not stating this as some kind of fact, right? But you know how there's like misleading shareholders and like those kinds of things, right? So if you're like the head of Underworlds and you're responsible for the success of Underworlds, a way to make it more successful is to just increase like your market share and where other people are going to buy it, you know? So like, for example, let's say like Magic, for example, right? Let's say, you know, when they started making those card sleeves, right? If they had another game, like let's say Pokemon and Magic were made by the same company. If they made the sleeves for Magic, but they happen to fit the Pokemon cards, then it just justifies this game, for a longer period of time. And the models have always been cool. But I strongly suspect that the AOS community is actually like the main one kind of, what's the word, funding this game in a way.
Yeah.
Now
It's kind of like how Kill Team, I think, is like, I think I heard that Kill Team is the second most selling war game that GW has or something, but it's
Really?
because people are buying Kill Team boxes to fund their 40K.
I see. I was gonna say like that. Like, there's no way it sells more than AOS. Like,
I don't know if it's the case anymore, but I did hear at one point that it was.
that makes sense. They kind of pooped the bed in the last Kill Team that they made.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it was so dumb. Like, there weren't, like, the models don't have movement characteristics. They have like numbers of like triangles and squares and stuff like that. So you're just like, okay, so that's worth 2. And they've got 3 triangles, so that means they move 6. And it's just like, you guys, like, I know what you were doing. Like, I worked for a company where we produced like massive amounts of multilingual brochures and different things, and pamphlets, explanations, and stuff like that. I know what you're doing. It's not working, and it's not worth it. Like that, I swear to God, I bet you they lost so much money on that one decision, because like I looked at it and I was just like, nope, F you. I played the 8th edition one a lot. I even made a campaign, and we got like one of those store things for our local store at the time. You know what I mean? Like we were showing, I think it was last week, like the trophy kind of stuff. Yeah. And that was actually one of the best ones they ever made was the Kill Team one. They came with acrylic numbered tokens, and we didn't really have that at the time. And it was really good for playing Tempest of War. Anyway, or now it's called Tempest of War. It was called Maelstrom back in the day. But anyway, I'm excited that they're bringing these back. I hope that they redo the rules for AOS because, they kind of need it, I guess, is why. And the like all of these models are sick. Like these are some of the coolest ones they've ever done that are not being produced anymore. So I think it's exciting. Kill Team pretty popular right now. I'll have to take your word for it. We don't, like, I think a lot of that, because like GW doesn't release their numbers, obviously. Like they don't tell us how things actually sell. But we kind of know just based on how they do stuff, But I did hear that at tournaments that Kill Team was very popular. It was like the 3rd most popular at tournaments. This is for 8th edition too, by the way. This is not for 9th edition. But yeah, like you said, like they produce these amazing boxes. I never ever played Kill Team 9th edition, and I have 3 of their boxes because of the terrain, just straight up. Yeah,
exactly. I even have a couple, I think. There was one Tau box that came with, like Tau Fire Warriors, and then that like trench thing.
Yeah, the pipes.
Trenches. Sorry?
Oh, you mean like back in the day?
Yeah. That was a while ago.
Oh,
but like they've been releasing boxes like that constantly.
Totally.
And it's just like if you're into 40K
yeah,
and you need to have a table of terrain as well, like it's perfect. Some of them came with like those big crates. Some of them came with trenches, like some with pipes. Like, yeah, tons of really good stuff.
Yeah. I actually bought, originally I bought the Kill Team terrain boxes with the cranes and the crates and stuff like that in it. And I bought it for 40K, but it was a Kill Team product, like quote unquote, right? So yeah, no, it's exciting. There's a lot, there's going to be a lot of crossover and like stuff like that. It kind of feels more genuine. Like I also bought like a 40K terrain box. But the main thing I got my terrain from was from Kill Team. So, and it actually had a Tau Kill Team in it. So I thought maybe we bought the same thing, but this is for 9th edition, Kill Team or whatever. But yeah, anyway, this is exciting. I'm glad they're doing it. It's big then Ron. I'm sorry. Okay. Like,
I think we have to call him the Honorable Big Ron now because he was the judge for the game last night. So.
Oh, you were the judge. Okay. Well.
Yeah. Your Honor.
Speaking of judges, how's that for a segue? Keith was kind enough to point out in the Discord that the honorable judge, Gourmain, he got like a short story for Dawnbringers, and I won't spoil anything at all. Big proponent of that, but check it out. Thanks again to Keith for posting it there, because I might have missed it. I haven't been keeping as aggressive about the that stuff. I bet they lost so much money. Checks the number. GW is currently worth $5.3 billion. Canadian. I think they are fine. I don't know. What's up, Matthew? Thanks for joining us. Sorry, I didn't see you with all the dots. Yes, Honorable Big Ron presiding. You can judge our chat this evening. So, wait, what did I don't remember what I said, because like, what did I say that they lost money on?
Kill team deciding to do shit. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So I don't mean that they lost money on the game of Kill Team. As Carson pointed out, they were selling like stuff for 40K under the Kill Team like license or header or whatever. That's not what I meant. I meant like what they made from Kill Team, like people actually playing the game of Kill Team, is significantly less than it would have been had they just had normal rules. They don't lose any money for Kill Team or for 40K. Like, people, it doesn't matter what they make. As long as they make cool models, like, people buy it up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Welcome, Robin. Thanks for joining us. And then, so I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people are really into the lore and stuff like I am. And then the last thing is like basically nothing to do with actual, what do you call it? Like actual Age of Sigmar, but Total War is getting like some free LC, and it's pretty dope, man. Like, I know they've kind of made some mistakes lately in terms of like their cost of their DLC and their, like the game in general. Like, it's crazy because Total War 2 is truly one of the greatest games I've ever played. Like, I've spent so many hours, hundreds of hours playing that game. It was honestly endlessly entertaining, and I've hardly played Total War 3 at all. And part of that is like, it's, my life is a little different than it was, during the Total War 2 days, but it's also just because I'm not excited for Total War 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember we built your PC like to play Total War 2 well, I think. That was one of the benchmarks that we used.
That was one of the benchmarks, was Total War. Yeah, exactly. I was super into it. I still love it. Like, I've never uninstalled it from my PC. And I always look at it, and then I'm just like, I could be playing Street Fighter. And then I go play Street Fighter 6. Because that game is amazing.
Yeah. There's something to be said about games that you can spend like 15, 20 minutes playing. Like, you can hop into a match of Street Fighter probably in... Yep. On a whim, essentially. Whereas Total War, you have to sit down and be like, okay, it's time to like rev up the campaign again and like remember where I was. So
yeah, I mean, like at this point, if I were to boot it back up again, I would just start a new campaign. I mean, and honestly, I would like to do that. Like, I've even just thought about like maybe you and I do like a co-op campaign or something, for a stream one night. Like, I would love to do that and just kind of shoot the poop. That makes it sound kind of like I have a bad night, some kind of gastro issues, but you know what I mean? Like, talk, yeah. I mean, it seems like a fun thing to me. Sorry guys, I'm missing some of these. Your time failure. Don't worry about it, Robin. It's all good. You're climbing out of your funk. I'm glad to hear that, man. I'm glad to hear that. You take care of yourself, man. Gotta love when companies are struggling because their profits are down 2%. Never mind that most people could retire early with that 2%. I mean, you like 2% of $1 billion? Yeah. Yeah. You could I think one person could probably retire around 2%.
$20 million.
Yeah. I think it would be 50 million because he said 5.4. So
Oh yeah,
$53 million. Maybe.
Well, he did say profits. He didn't say like total worth of.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So assuming that's true. Actually, it probably is like $20 million then. God dang. And we don't even know. Oh my God, that's wild. Yeah. Poop bingo. Yep. Bro, don't be shooting poop. I try not to. I can't make you any promises though, Delicious. Total War 2 Warhammer was the Skaven one. It absolutely was. It launched with... So Total War... Okay, I know I've said this. Some people who are... If you've heard this before, I apologize. But the reason I got back into wargaming was because after our apartment burned down, we had nothing, and then I got a new PC, or I got a new laptop for my work, because I do, tech stuff or whatever. And and so they had... Total War 1 had come out. This was 2016 summer. So I don't know when it had come out, but it was already out. And then I didn't even know about it, and I didn't have a PC that could properly play it. So I downloaded it and I started playing, and I was just like, "Oh my God, I miss this so much," because I hadn't played in like 20 years. And I was like, "There's no Skaven in this game though," And so I played vampires, and then I played a little bit of goblins. But I was like, yeah, there's like nothing in here. I was like, I wonder if this is still like a game even, like, because you could see, I know, 5.4 or 54 or no, $5.3 billion. And you're like, of course that company went out of business, but it was also a very different time for GW, but I didn't know any of that. You know what I mean? I didn't know anything about that, but I was just like, the reason I got back into wargaming was because I was walking around my neighborhood. I saw a sign for Warhammer. I went in there and I was like, are Skaven still a thing? Because I was playing it in Total War, And then, so yeah, and so we got DLC, we got Wood Elves and Beastmen, and we got, right at the end, Norska. That was the faction we got right before Total War 2. But Total War 2 launched with Skaven, Lizardmen, High Elves, and Dark Elves. Like, they saved the 4 probably most popular factions in the history of Games Workshop for Volume 2, which was genius because they worked out all the kinks, and then the curse of 3 in video games. It always happens. Dawn of War 3, look up like most, a lot of video games, right? I won't go on. Yeah, it seems like they also took a huge dump, on the game. But they can always bring it back because it is kind of a living game, right? But it's really cool. There's going to be a Frostworm added to it. Kislevite Warriors, Golden Knight, Druzina? Sure. Grand Cathay is getting a bunch of cool, animals. Looks like they're calling it something else. Anyway, really cool stuff. Zeech is getting stuff. I think that's dope. I like it when... I know that they haven't done a great job and a lot of people weren't happy with them, but free LC that's a good way to, to turn this franchise around, right? Usually you say that kind of in a silly way. You only said troll. Wait, what? What did I miss?
Yeah, it's something that definitely gets good graces from the community. Like when when a developer decides to put out something free, like just a nice content update, because it can definitely be seen as like a slap in the face when things aren't going too well and the developer's like, what if you buy this other thing? And everyone's like, come on, like, what are we doing here?
It's so true. And like, you can go both ways too. It's like, so Street Fighter 6, just to use as an example for that kind of thing, the game is like, so Street Fighter 5 was objectively had a terrible launch, and Street Fighter 6, I think, sold more in the first month than they ever did in the life of Street Fighter 5. And these games go on for a really long time. It came out in 2015. Street Fighter, or no, 2000, I think it was late 2015 or early 2016. So, yes, 2000, anyway, it doesn't matter. Sorry, guys. So, but yeah, so it's doing so well, and then they've only done like Avatar kind of stuff, and so everyone's just like, give us a costume for our characters, and then they came out with them finally, and they didn't even bundle them, and people were just buying them, and everyone's just like, more content, give us more content, right? Whereas like some companies, if you don't do so well at the start, or like another good example of like really well done content is what's the dwarf space mining thing? Deep Rock Galactic. Yeah, and they don't have any paid content. They only have like cosmetic stuff. And I got that game for free on PlayStation Plus. And I don't pay for any of the content, and I've spent a lot of time playing with my son, and I was just like, I'm just gonna buy some of the cosmetic stuff just to support them. Like, they garnered so much goodwill with me, that I was just like, I want you to have this money. Like, that's how I felt, man. Yeah. So
yeah, that's like the best thing a developer could ask for sure. Also, Keith Rogers saying free LC can work, just as Hello Games. They are now at the point where fans are yelling at them, stop, let us pay for some DLC. Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Hello Games is the developer for No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, and what's interesting about that game too is it actually had not a great launch either. Like, people were expecting.
Catastrophic.
Yeah, I was trying not to be rude.
No, it's okay. Like, I think
that's true.
I mean, it's honestly one of like the most compelling redemption stories for a game almost ever. Like, they had like one of the developers go on to like late night talk shows and talk about it and stuff like that, how the procedural generation is going to be revolutionary and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it just like really flopped on launch, but it just like kept at it and were persistent, and now it's like super beloved by its fan base. So
it's true.
Definitely turned around.
I still haven't played it, and when it was about to come out, I was so ready, but I did the smart thing, waited for people to like actually kind of talk about it and see, and then I was just like, oh, this doesn't sound like the game that they sold me on. So I was like, I'll wait, and then I just never. So yeah, anyway. Strange that the Skaven was the one that captivated Rob, but the one after didn't. Must just be coincidence. I didn't understand that. Skaven was the one that captivated Rob. I am a rat. Like, I wasn't born in the year of the rat, but I've talked. Or were you really?
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I was born in the year of the stupid, whatever, chicken, bird, rooster. I don't know what they call it in English. Yeah, they say chicken in most, like in Korean and stuff, and they say bird in Japanese. But
Gotcha.
Total War. Well, so I played Skaven in Warhammer Fantasy Battles and in Warhammer Fantasy Battles 4th edition. But yeah, so I was kind of like, there was no Skaven in Total War 1, so I was just like, where are my rats? Because I even played, a lot of people won't remember it, but there was a game called, I think it was called Shadow of the Horned Rat. It was like, it was not good. It was just like pixelated garbage. Like, it was like sort of off square, like little bits of, I don't know, like there's like 1 pixel per Skaven, you know what I mean, kind of deal. And it was super hard, and I wanted to be the Skaven, and then I got to the Skaven, and oh man, it was brutal. You like Street Fighter, Big Ron? Or if depending on where you are, we should play. I'm always looking for people to play with.
I think Big Ron might be in Canada. I think, if I'm not mistaken, if it was him, he was planning on coming to the Battered Bison tournament as well. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
not to doxy, but I mean, Canada's literally the 2nd biggest country in the world, so it doesn't narrow it down that much.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. Well, the netcode is amazing in Street Fighter 6. Like, roll back, mwah. It's a little hard. Like, you don't, like, I don't play, I don't play ranked against people who are on Wi-Fi because like it's that important in fighting games. But anyway, so AoS 4 sounds pretty cool, right? He said it well. So yeah, so tonight we're I didn't prepare I forgot to prepare a slide. I'll go back to the rumor engine. That's cool. That's sort of evergreen.
Yeah, we can do that. One thing we could do too is
Yep.
we can open a Google Doc. I think there's been a couple other people that have done this, and we can just like write down our stupid predictions.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Okay. Okay. I'll do that right now. Boop.
Because I think that's like one of the main things that people really like to look at is just a plain text document, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Comic Sans?
Comic Sans.
Rainbow as well?
What's the other one? Oh, what's that? What's like
I
the
almost
most...
called it Alariel, but Ariel.
Well, what do you mean? Oh, Ariel. I see. Like, I can't.
Font.
I thought you meant the opposite. I was like, well, because there is Ariel as well in the old world. She's
Oh,
like,
is there?
yeah, yeah. She's like the other. She's like the avatar of Isha. Like Orion is the avatar of Kurnos. She's basically like the avatar of the god of life in the old world. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Let me see if I can. I need to find something to redeem us just a little bit, Carson. Okay. Just a little bit. Nope, can't find it. Never mind. No redemptions here. Oop. Okay. Unnamed Google Doc. Here we go. So, actually, I will name it just so we can find it. AoS for predictions and wish list.
Maybe call it like AOS 4 leaks. Do not open. How about that?
No, I don't want to confuse it with the leaks I actually got.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
Because
is the stream where we
important.
pretend-
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
People know who we
pretend
are.
not to know what's happening in AOS 4. We're like, no, I don't know. This is going to happen. And everything's 100% right. Yeah.
That would be so sick. But I am, I'm planning on, a little spice, right?
Yeah. Why don't we create a title? Like a nice big title on the top.
Sure.
AOS 4 predictions,
Sure. Okay.
Let's format this doc. Actually, could you send me a link? Because then we can both
Ooh,
collab on it.
I like it. Okay. I will do that. Copy. Or no, I have to share it with you, don't I? I don't want to share your email. Actually, I'll just pull this off. There we go. We have the technology. So I have now shared it with you. We don't want other people editing this very super secret and very serious document.
It's really important.
It is important. I agree. So, okay. Can we have columns?
Columns?
Yeah, like
columns?
we could have a Rob column and a Carson column.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
And we could even have...
Welcome to sagaofdice, everyone, where we learn how to edit a text document.
You shut up.
I feel like there's got to be a... Yeah. Format, columns. Boom.
Can you make 3?
Wait, that didn't do anything. Format?
It did not. It made it pink,
columns.
which I did like. Oh, there you go. If you make 3 columns, and then we could have Rob, Asdaz, and maybe Dad. That's what I'm thinking. But, okay. Here, wait, one second. I was thinking, so it doesn't matter what order. Like Carson, right, is the first column, right? Rob is the third column. And then the middle is the stuff we agree on.
I'm trying to format it with 3 columns, but it's not
Okay, then don't worry about it.
happy with me.
So,
We can also just do a table as well.
okay.
No, this is fine. This is fine.
Oh, you mean like a Google Sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Although that's probably even more ugly and worse to look at.
The heck was that?
So it's weird that we can't. It doesn't matter. It's not important. Okay, sorry. So I'll read some comments while I won't. It's kind of become my thing. Oh, distracting, I think you mean? Hey, man, welcome to the friggin', realm of chaos, right? Paper trails and accountability so you have proof when you are yelling, I was right, I told you so, from the mountaintop. That's true. And you're right again. If you didn't come here for like funky, last minute, not well prepared stuff, then you clearly weren't paying attention and it's on you.
I'm getting rid of the columns. This is terrible. I'm just going to make us a table.
Cool.
Sorry.
Nope, that's great. That's great. Don't worry. Get Haywo on the line. He loves text docs. Really loves text docs, that guy.
Big text doc guy over here.
Yeah, real big one. Okay. So we got to lay down some ground rules. By the way, this is the kind of content that I tune in for, like when I watch podcasts. Like if people are up there with like super dry, well, I go next. I think, shut up. Just shut up. I want like off the cuff, I want to listen to something smart, but also kind of dumb at the same time while I paint my toys. Okay? It's important to me. My mouth is very dry all of a sudden. Okay. Very important and 100% correct. I like this last minute. Yeah, see? Like, smart, very important. See? The smart part, very important and 100% correct. Dumb, big guy going, like that, right? I don't even know what that means, but okay, USA. That's from Bloodsport, in case people don't know.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. The first column of this table is going to be me.
Okay.
The third column is going to be you.
Okay.
And then the middle one is what we agree on.
Yeah.
And we can make this table real nice and big, except I guess we can't. Why can't we make it?
See, it's not just me, everyone. Whoa, thank you. Yo. Matthew, thank you again.
Oh, thank you very
for
much.
the gift membership. I won't call out who got it because, you never know. People like lurking. But thank you very much. It's really, really appreciated. I think it makes a big difference for membership for clip art. God dang. Shots fired, but you're not wrong, and that's what we love about you. No, but seriously, thank you so much. It means a lot for the channel. I meant to say earlier, because every time we do one of these streams, we don't do ads and stuff in the middle. Like, unless if you're seeing ads, they're not supposed to be there. I click every time very specifically that I'm gonna put you have to click on it or whatever. But like, I choose to I'll put the ads in myself, and then I just never do. So you shouldn't be ever seeing ads in the middle of this thing. But so it's, the support is really appreciated. And if you guys are enjoying the content, like subscriptions, it's kind of sad, but GW is, in a lot of ways still a very old fashioned company, and they only recognize subscription numbers. So if you're not subscribed and you enjoy what we do, then a subscription would be really appreciated. And if you like it, give it a like. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. And if you wouldn't mind letting us know how we can make it better, how we can make it something that you would like to tune into every week. But I think I've stalled enough. Thanks again to Matthew.
Okay, so I think I've formatted our very correct and very important document well enough by now.
I think so. Barely.
So we've got our AoS 4 predictions title here.
Yeah.
Let's center justify these. I think that's going to be, boom. That just adds a little bit more.
Yep. Agreed.
We've noted that it's very important and also 100% correct.
And we chose not to spell correctly because we're aware of something called irony, people. Okay.
We've got a big thumbs up because we, just positive vibes,
Yep.
right? And then this is Age of Sigmar, so we got to have the AOS logo, of course.
Hell yeah.
And then here's our little table. So we've got a Carson tab.
It's not little, by the way. It's average. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Jeez.
It's actually above average because it's like taking up
Thank you.
more than half.
Thank you.
More than half the page. So
yeah. Above average.
Okay, so left column is me, middle column is what we agree on,
Yep.
and the right column is you, like your predictions.
Yep, because they're right.
I think one thing that we can start off with that we both agree on, it's probably going to be an index edition.
Yes.
That's number one.
Index edition. Faux show. I would be shocked. And there's always someone that asks, either in the comments or in the live chat, an index edition is basically where the rules are new enough and different enough that it forces them essentially to make a set of books or a document where they just make general rules for each army. And it invalidates, unfortunately, everyone's battle tome, including FEC, which just came out. But yeah.
I put the little cowboy emoji there because it's the Wild West. Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Damn, Carson. You on fire.
Okay. Why don't let's do one more thing I think we both agree on, which is that Skaven is going to be the big faction focus at the start.
The baddie, yeah.
So Skaven, big bad of edition, I would say. That's the thing we agree on.
I absolutely think so. Because Skaven are Skaven are in the Chaos faction, as many of you will know, and AOS 1 was Khorne, so Chaos. AOS 2 was Death, Night Haunt, and AOS 3 was Cruel Boys, Orc War Clans, Destruction. And so it's also been rumored that we're going to the realm of Ulgu next, which is the realm of Shadow. So it would Skaven just tie obviously really well into the realm of Shadow. I would be, we've also heard like supposed leaks and or spoilers that they are coming in the edition thing. So I would be flabbergasted if Skaven weren't in there. But then again, I've seen the Interstellar meme, so
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be I weirdly wouldn't be surprised. No, I would be actually shocked.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Why don't you? Okay, so we have two things that we agree on.
Right.
And if anyone wants us to kind of elaborate on either of them, we can. I feel like you did a good job elaborating on the Skaven thing. The index thing is something we've kind of talked about a lot.
We have.
So if anyone has any questions about that, or I'm sure it'll come up later relating to other things, so we can talk about it more. But what is something that you think is going to happen that you don't think that I agree with?
Oh, can I say the one that the first, just so I don't forget? There's one that I think is going to happen, and I don't know if you agree or not on whether it's going to happen.
Why don't you just throw it out there, and if I agree, we can put it in the agree tab.
Perfect. I think they're getting rid of the magic phase. They did it in 40K for 10th edition. They got rid of it in the old world, which was even more surprising to me because they like their stuff unchanging as the frickin', as religious texts. There are a bunch of, so that's the first thing that I know Wizards allowed. How are you coming up with these stickers so quickly? That's crazy.
I just Google searching the first thing that comes up. So,
oh my gosh! In a different tab?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I agree with this or if I disagree with it.
I'm not saying this is what I want, just to be clear.
No, I know. I think this is what you think is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think this is going to happen, though.
This is tough. I want to agree with it. I think I do agree with it, actually. I think it is more likely than not going to happen. So I'm going to put it in here where we both are kind of in consensus that that's probably the case. This is just going to be like one big column down the middle.
It
by
might
the end of
be.
the street.
It might be. Okay, okay. Can you think of something that you don't think I agree with?
Can I think of something that you don't think? I think they're going to keep bone splitters in AOS 4.
Whoa. Oh man. Okay,
I don't
wait.
think they're-
Okay, we have to define this very clearly, okay?
Okay.
When you say they're going to keep bone splitters until when? Do you mean bone splitters are going to exist in the index and in the eventual army book / battle tome or whatever you want to call it? Or do you just mean like, yeah, what do you mean? Like just for the index? Or do you mean through the battle tome? Because those are two very different animals.
I think that. So what I think is going to happen is they're going to continue to have orc war clans.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that in the index, it's just going to be orc war clans in the same units that we're used to seeing for bone splitters. They're still going to be there, like Wargog Prophet, whatnot. But when orc war clans actually gets their book,
Yeah.
I think it's still going to just be a sub faction.
You still think it's going to be a sub?
I don't think they're going to change it. And the reason why I don't think they're going to change it is because this edition focused a lot on orc war clans. We got a new one. We got Cruel Boys.
Yep.
And we also got a big Ironjaw supplement as well. I don't think they're looking to radically change orc war clans too much the next edition. That's the reason why I think that.
Interesting. Okay. One second. The truth is I don't know. Like, I really don't know. So I'm not going to put it in the agree section because I don't have an opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong. I have no freaking idea. And that's not me putting my foot down on something. So I feel like that can go in the Carson section. I think we're going to need all the individual section we can get. Okay. I've got one that I think you might disagree on.
Okay.
No sub-factions.
No sub-factions, really?
No sub-factions.
That wasn't even something I thought of. Actually, based on that immediate response, yeah, I think I'll give that one to you, that I wouldn't have agreed with that because I didn't even think of it in the first place.
That's fair.
So
I think we're going to get like some kind of equivalent of detachments a la 40K. The current edition of 40K. And I think along with that, we're going to notice like a huge decrease in like general pickable artifacts and command traits and stuff like that, or enhancements or whatever. I think that's another thing. I think they might just get rid of like individual command traits versus artifacts and stuff like that. But that's the main thing is no sub-factions. Yeah. Image not found.
I couldn't find anything.
That works though. That actually works.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you did it on purpose.
Okay. So let's visit the chat for a sec. Let's see what's been going on there.
Right.
I see Big Ron that says Mounted Ogre Tyrant. That'd be pretty cool. That gets into specifics for sure.
Oh, that does. Yeah.
But that's really cool. Do we want to add a section for chat? Does that make sense?
Ooh, I would love to add a section for chat.
Okay. Let's see if I can add a column.
That's so much more fun. Right?
Okay, chat. So the first one is Mounted Ogre Tyrant.
Can you
I'm just
put
gonna have these
put
separate
SOD chat, Saga of Dice chat? I want their name on it. Like when they are right, when we see these things, we get to, as I think Keith said, point at it. You know?
Yeah. Let's see.
What is going on about ironing? Man, you hate ironing. I love that. I love the random thought. Yeah. Ludivicus, weird. I don't know if you're being facetious or not, but like, I think it is polarizing. It just depends on where you look, you know? Bone Splitters is going to Old World. Sorry, guys. Squatted. It might. I honestly, I truly don't know. I think, you know, so I was playing the Old World with some people, and their theory was, or they had heard something about how the old world people like weren't allowed to use certain things from AOS, but I don't think that could possibly, it can't totally be true because stuff still exists like dryads and tree lords and things like that that just are going to continue to cross over and stay crossed over. So there couldn't be like a hard and fast rule for that, or like ogres, you know, different things like that. So yeah, I'm not sure. But
Yeah. After that, looking at like actual predictions from the chat after Latificus.
by the
Keith
way,
says,
Big Ron, I actually hope they keep sub factions, but if they do it in the right way, a la 40k, I would be okay with it.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Keith says points for enhancements. Paying points for enhancements.
Oh, I love that. I've been asking for that for like 2 editions now. Just ever since I saw it or remembered having it in 40k, because then it's like, okay, if you make a crappy, like that way they can make crappy artifacts. And then it's like, okay, when we can just adjust the points on the artifact, and then, you know what I mean? It's just like, it solves so many problems. Like, remember, everyone probably remembers, what was it, Amulet of Destiny or whatever, that gave the 5-up ward save? And then they had to nerf that thing like 7 different times to figure out how to get people to stop taking it. And then now no one takes it. Whereas they could have just increased the points on it. That would be rad. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I would love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong.
Yeah. Can you scroll down on the stream a little bit?
Oh, sorry. My bad. I've got a
there
prediction that I think you're going to agree with.
Okay.
It's that we're getting like we're getting a, what's the 40k has like a new thing where you buy like a starter box, and then they have a game where everything's balanced already and you can just buy that box and play it against other boxes. I
Spear, isn't it like
that's what I think our head thing is going to be called, right? Spear point.
Spearhead or
Spearhead?
whatever.
Is that
I
what
think
it
it's
is?
Spearhead, and I'm pretty sure that's already confirmed.
Is
So
it
it's not even-
confirmed?
Well, like they've already announced boxes for that, called that.
Did they?
Right? Yeah. There's one for I think Cities of Sigmar. It's not called Vanguard anymore. I think it's called Combat Patrol. Matthew said
Combat
in the,
Patrol. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like they have that in. Well, like, so we might have seen a box that sounds familiar, but what I'm saying is like it will be balanced. They basically just do the same exact thing they did in 40k, whereas like you'll buy a box, it'll be like exactly 800 points or whatever the heck they decide, and they will make a sub game with rules in the core rule book around, around that. I would put like Combat Patrol equivalent. Yeah, balanced starter boxes a la Combat Patrol. Perfect.
I'm going to put it in your tab, not because I disagree that that's going to happen. What I disagree with is that they're not going to be balanced. There's no possible way that it's going to actually keep up.
But that's what they're. I'm not saying that they'll actually be balanced. I'm just saying that that's what they're going to say. Yeah.
I know. I
Okay.
think what's going to happen is they're going to like abandon the notion that this is what that's supposed to be, because like halfway through the edition, it's not really going to be applicable anymore.
Yeah. Well, and they for 40k they've started making more. Like it's not one per faction. Like the Tyranids are about to get a second one.
Yeah. The DB says cities and FEC are the 2 spearhead boxes we've seen. Yeah. Yeah.
What's in it again?
I don't remember what's.
Oh, fair enough.
Let me look it up.
Cool. I'm against points for enhancements. I don't think it'll happen, Justin. But and I get that. Like, it's the nice thing is if you're really into building lists, though, when you have points with enhancements, it's fun. It's really fun. You can get granular as heck. And then you don't have to worry about it's not like well, you can to get another enhancement I have to like take this certain amount of units. It's just like, do you have the points? Because like right now we're still on the Triumph system for AOS rather, and it's not the best system, frankly. Like this weird like Triumph bid kind of thing that we're doing. I don't think that that's ideal, but I also don't think it's going anywhere. Yeah.
Gotcha. So the Cities of Sigmar spearhead is 5 Cavaliers, a Cavalier Marshal, an Iron Weld Great Cannon,
Okay.
and then 10 Steel Helms.
Oh,
And
okay.
then the FEC one is a Vargulf, an Archregent,
Well, sorry.
3.
The Vargulf is the new kit.
Yep,
The Arch Regent, or yeah. So
it's
that's
like
the
leaning
older kit
against
that
the
came out
thing.
with AOS 2. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 more Beg Knights,
Three
and
more. Oh, more big knights. Yeah.
10 Grave or Crypt Guard,
Oh, yeah.
I
The
think.
Crypt Guard.
The new ones. Yeah.
Crypt Guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, like the stuff that came in the starter set, minus the Gore Warden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or but you get
So
20. I think you got 20 Crypt
you
Guard.
did get 20. Yeah.
Oh, you get 20 in this one too?
No. You get 10 in this one.
Oh, okay. 10. Huh.
But I think it's kind of all you need right now anyway. Who knows what's going to happen in AOS 4. But
That's not a lot of points. Like 160 plus. I don't think they changed the Crypt Guard, so 140. So we're at 300 plus 150 for the Morbeg Knights. That's 450. Did you say anything else?
more Beg Knights,
Yeah.
Bargulf, Archregent.
Oh, the Arch Regent, right. So another 150 points. So like that's like 600 points. And
Yeah.
that's maybe that's what they're gonna do. It'll be like 600 points.
Well, again, like if this is intended to be for AOS 4 too, you would
Yeah.
assume that they make these boxes knowing what the points are going to be for
Right.
that.
Right.
So who knows? It could be a 500 point thing. It could be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a spicy prediction.
Okay.
I don't think anyone here is brave enough to follow me. Okay. To this prediction. And I'm not saying this is what I want. Okay, just to be clear. Once again, I'm going to predict some kind of core change to priority roll. And the
What is it?
reason so the reasons for it are actually multifaceted, but the main thing, so like I've been convincing people and getting people into Age of Sigmar pretty much since I started the game. And when I started, by the way, it was toxic because the old guard were still there, all the crusty old fantasy players that were just hating, calling it Age of Shitmar and all that other stuff. Like, it was a toxic time to be trying to play Age of Sigmar. And then when we got when I started is right after we got points. I didn't even know that we had points because I was watching battle reports and they were still using wound, like amount of wounds as like a metric. And there was, anyway. Age of Sigmar 3 came out and we were like maybe like 3 months in roughly. And I was hanging out with people, and I was still playing 40K at the time, and I was hanging out in the local store, and people were just like, Age of Sigmar, that's a baby game. Like the double turn is stupid. And I was just like, you're kind of dumb. You don't play it. You haven't even tried it since what, 2017, 2016? Like, really? And I kind of had that thing, but I was just like, my God, there is still, and this guy played 40K, and I was like, do you understand that like the most celebrated edition of 40K, which I think was 8th edition, like everyone loved 8th edition, right? When it came out, and then everyone's like, oh no, it's going to be based on Age of Sigmar, and then it was, and then everyone loved it, right? Everyone loved it, and so it's like, did you realize that your favorite thing ever was based off of Age of Sigmar? Like, the game rocks, and people still fundamentally, and like you saw this during your and I'm not calling anyone out, because the double turn is a complicated thing. Like, it seems like a luck based mechanic that just decides games until you start playing 40 chess, until you start figuring out how to play with this mechanic. And so I I think that they are going to do something with the double turn to that just kind of allows us all to show those people it's not the same anymore. You know what I mean? Like you can, even in AOS 3, like one of the things I said was, well, they're incentivizing taking the bottom of the turn. You get more command points and blah, 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 blah. And, they were like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's still the double turn, and it's still exactly like almost as it described before. It was mostly, it's very minor. But if they kind of change it in something more fundamental, everyone can just say it's not the same. It's not the double turn anymore. You know what I mean? It's just like it's not the same thing. So, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
I hope I'm wrong. I do hope that they do more to incentivize. Sorry.
What is the one sentence version of what you're predicting here?
Some kind of a change to the double turn.
Okay.
It's not going away. There's no way it's going away.
Okay. I'm going to retort, or I'm going to kind of say something that I've had on my mind that I feel like could be a change. And this is purely pulled out of my ass.
Okay. Gross.
I'm sorry. That I think what's going to happen is rather than, because what is a feel bad is that someone who is not really prepared for it has a dice roll.
Yeah.
And then they lose the dice roll and their opponent says, now I get 2 turns against you instead of 1.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the ways that they could and actually might combat that is at the beginning of the battle, whoever wins priority basically gets priority to decide who's attacker, who's attacker, who's defender.
Yep.
And then priority itself alternates each battle round. So what happens is someone gets to determine I'm attacker, you're defender.
Whoa.
And then at the end of round 1,
yeah,
the other person, there's no dice roll, no whatever. The other person now gets to decide you get a double turn.
Right.
Or I take a turn.
That would be yeah.
And what that means is instead of it just being left up to chance, because to be quite honest, it is a feel bad when you lose the dice roll every single time.
Yep.
Even though you can kind of plan for it, if you're not deciding the order of priority ever, it's inherently disadvantageous for you.
Right.
So
that would be perfect. You know why that would be perfect? Because the most important turns are turn 2, 3, and 4. Right?
Yeah.
So if you get, and I think 1 is important, but 2 is way more important, right? And then that would be so awesome. And that is a fundamental change to it. That is your idea. I haven't heard anyone ever say that before, and it's freaking brilliant. That's perfect. My idea, and I knew this wasn't going to be the case. I just thought if something changes fundamentally, we can just say to these losers, I'm sorry, they're not all losers, but sometimes people aren't, whatever. Some of them are losers though, for sure. Like he said, he says, I encounter them sometimes, Rob. I'm happy the old world is back. Now I can say the old world is back. Now go over there and stop complaining. And I can't remember who, I think it was Dan, or it might have been you, Carson, who put this GIF up of this guy, and there's a bunch of people huddled together, and I think it's probably used elsewhere. And then this guy walks up and he's like, ageofsigmar, and then one of the people turns around and kind of gives him the thumbs up, and then they all go back, and then he keeps saying it, and no one pays attention to him anymore. That's kind of how I feel now, And I like the old world. I like 40K. You know what I mean? I played fantasy back in the day. I have a lot of great memories of it. But Age of Sigmar is my favorite game. This is where I'm staying, and I'm still going to play the old world. I don't know that we'll do it on stream. We probably won't unless we can kind of get that going. But anyway, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. So then I think we can say we agree on it.
I was just going to say, I put it in the agree tab, and
cool.
You can scroll down to see it.
Oh, right. My bad.
Let's try and load balance this a little bit, because We'll just have like a big column in the agree tab. Actually, we don't have to do that. Never mind. It doesn't matter. But
Well, I'll
so
try.
I just put that.
I thought you were going to
Priority change of
disagree
some
with me,
kind.
though.
I know. A priority change of some kind
Yeah.
is probably going to happen. I really hope that they go with kind of what I was talking about, because that would add an element of like
Oh, yeah.
both players could just decide, I'm going to double you, and then you're going to double me, and then I'm going to double you, and then you could just keep going in that order. And
Yeah.
if that's the cadence that both of you decide, then that's just how it goes, right? There's no inherent like flaw or sorry, there's no inherent like disadvantage of like going first in the first battle round anymore.
Right.
Are being forced to, because maybe you get to decide to give your opponent a really bad double turn because you know that you have priority and you can just stay super far away.
Right.
So there's ways to plan around it that are a little more interactive than let's roll a dice. And I was kind of planning on like you kind of have to like make it a little bit bad for your opponent to give you the turn, but also not great if they take the turn.
Well,
and that's a really difficult thing to do.
You know what else? If you hate the double turn, you could like make it so that you get like you could I don't know if it'll be battalions and whatnot, it'll be like a 1-drop or whatever, but you could like let's just say you take, let's say you hate the double turn, so then you go, okay, I'm gonna take a 1-drop, I'm gonna go second, right? And then the only way that you can be like with your idea, the only way that you'll never get double turned. You can only double turn them essentially, because then you just be like, I'm taking the bottom of the turn, whatever. Yeah, I love that idea. Just be a demon player so you can play all the systems. I mean, that's not a bad idea. That's a cool avatar. I thought it was Judy for a second from Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 on the brain.
Okay.
Okay.
So just because I only have one thing in my tab, I'm going to try and make a suggestion.
Okay, please.
I think they're going to get rid of half-inch mattering at all.
Half inch?
Half an inch. Half an inch is not going to be a thing anymore.
What do you mean?
So right now, when you make a charge, you have to make it to within a half inch in order to actually successfully complete your charge. And half inch is mentioned elsewhere in the book, in the rules as well at some points, I think.
Okay.
But basically, or actually, no, I think maybe it is only just charging. I think they're going to change it to an inch. And I think that one of the key indicators of that is that the big tournament pack that they're selling to people don't have half inch on the widgets anymore. It's just 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch.
That's true. That's true. Right.
Do you agree or disagree?
I'm sorry. I agree.
You agree? Okay.
I got to scroll down. Now it looks kind of blank again. Okay, I'm gonna get this off my chest. I mean, it's okay if we're just if we just kind of agree. Here's another one that we're going to agree on. I think we are finally getting rid of stupid range measurements on melee attacks. I think it should have died.
You think it's going to be...
What's that?
Yeah. You think it's going to be like base to base or something?
Yeah. I think it's going to be base to base and base to base within base to base.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. It should have died. Like, it never should have been a thing, actually. Like, it never... That's like the single worst thing that came out of Age of Sigmar was measuring... Because, like, it's inherently inaccurate to measure something like that. Combat gauges made it possible. It's a bad mechanic. I don't like that because you be able to predict too much. That's fair. I mean, you could only predict in as much as you could predict your opponent, though, my balls. Like, it'd be like poker. It'd be like, like I think he's gonna try and double turn me, etc. Like it wouldn't be you go, I go, just to explain what Carson was saying. It would be like you get to choose who goes first. And then the other person gets to choose. So it wouldn't be like it's not you go, I go.
Yeah. It allows you to create difficult decisions for your opponent.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit easier for new players to understand, like, you're choosing right now, but I get to choose later.
Yeah.
And it's a little more easy to understand than just like randomly getting a double turn once in a while. Because sometimes people are just like, I'm going to play for the double. Whereas if you have a system like this and you know that your opponent is going to get to choose, if it's super advantageous for you to get the double, you're just not going to get it. So you have to play in a way that makes the decision a little bit difficult for them all the time. Or you have to set yourself up multiple turns in advance to know that I need to survive whatever my opponent is going to do with their decision this turn, because then I can choose to have a double later. So
exactly.
Yeah.
It's always been like, it's always been extremely strong to give away the top of the turn. And so, and this would actually increase that, because it would become more chess-like as well. And also add in elements of poker. And about the 1 inch, so Ledivicus was saying, I think it's more likely to be 1 inch and then within 1 inch of someone within 1 inch. I would be okay with that because it's quite easy to tell. Having said that, they got rid of it in 40K. It used to be half an inch within a half. Actually, originally it was like within an inch and then half an inch within an inch or some other nonsense. And that now it's just like base to base. And it's just like, it's just so much, it's so much faster. It's like, is it touching? Is it not? You don't need a gauge. You don't need to bend way over. You can look at it and just tell. But I'd be fine with that. I would be fine with that, just to be clear. The way we do it right now is poopy. And the other thing too is like, what would be cool? Oh, okay. So I mean, this is like kind of a wish list thing, but you know how we have like spears and swords for different groups? I would like to see them get rid of the difference and have them be one profile. That's like wish number one. Like,
okay.
But then spears, because spears are actually, like, a lot of people don't know this, but spears are like a better battlefield weapon. Like the army with spears, traditionally speaking, won every time. Spears are really strong in a battlefield scenario. So what I would like to see is that spears have just a different cost. And then they can fight 3 ranks deep. But I right now, like, there's such a, like, the most common debate you'll see on like the Skaven page and a lot of pages is spears or swords. And it's just like, oh my God. And it gets asked like every like week and no one scrolls down because they're all new and they don't think to. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, and it would also allow for more granular list building options. Sorry, I kind of went on for a bit there, but
nope, that's okay. So the prediction is basically that like it's being combined into one profile.
Amalgamation of.
Okay.
Of
I'm going to say I
profiles.
disagree.
I like it.
Of profiles, and then in parentheses, i.e., spears versus swords, just like a common one. Okay. What about look at the chat, see if anyone else has any predictions in there, or kind of catch up.
Yeah, give us your predictions. Wait, no magic phase? I'll die if that happens. Well, so I don't know that I want this either, Whizbang, but like, and thanks for joining us. We've got some newer faces in here, and we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I don't know that I want it, but when it comes to the magic phase, and you might be behind, like you might be watching this and you'll get to my comment in like an hour, Whizbang. But, you know, when it comes to the magic phase, like I think that they're going to move over to the 40K side of things, but so they're not getting rid of magic, but, yeah, I don't even know that I'm hoping that either. I haven't played enough 40K to decide.
It just seems like a likely thing.
It does. It just seems like a likely thing. It's a prediction, pure and simple.
Yeah.
What's this no magic phase BS? I mean,
up some... yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I like it. Just have one profile and let the weapon models be aesthetics.
I love that my balls is like a regular in the chat because every time
Yeah.
someone is like interacting with them, It's just like, I agree, my balls.
Exactly.
My balls is a real level-headed person.
Well,
Thanks for the input.
and by the way, I said that, right?
You did, yeah. That's just funny seeing other people in the chat too,
Yeah.
just like casually saying my balls.
I get so little credit though. I have to claim it. Like, damn it. That's
Okay.
monopost models. Yeah, I agree.
Battletome battle tactics removed. Bryce, can you kind of like elaborate on that? Do you mean that just like
Oh yeah.
just the Battletome ones are removed and then we have a universal pool?
Oh,
Or-
I see.
or
I'm
do we
gonna
have
I'm gonna
no
do
battle
you one
tactics?
better. We're not gonna have battle tactics. That is
Okay.
my number one prediction.
I
I'm not saying I want it again. Just to be
Yeah.
clear, don't at me.
I'm gonna wait for them to
Please.
elaborate.
You want
And
the
if they
chat to do your thinking for you.
Well, no, the thing is, like, I want to give credit to the chat.
Fair.
Even if they agree with us, I want to put it in their
Oh,
comments.
I see. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a great call. I shouldn't have said anything. Damn it. Sorry, Bryce. I should have. The potential based on what they did in 40K. But honestly, I feel like AOS is a much better place overall right now. Totally agreed, Whizbang. This is the best game they've ever made, in my opinion. Having said that, when they make a new edition, they have to make fundamental changes because it's something to talk about. It just creates people to come back to it, back to the game. So they do, like, they will unfortunately just make changes for change's sake. It is. Bryce is saying, yeah, just specifically Battletome tactics removed. Pool of general tactics.
Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say no book specific tactics
For the chat.
for the chat, and I'll put parentheses Bryce.
Nice. Yeah, I like giving
And-
specific credit.
For you think there's going to be no tactics whatsoever?
There's not going to be.
I actually agree with Bryce, so I'm going to put this in yours as well.
I
No
think
battle
what they
tactics
should
whatsoever.
do is not have book tactics. I'm saying what they will do is they're going to nuke battle tactics and we're going to have something different. Because it is the most unified, singularly reviled part of the game.
Battle tactics?
Battle tactics in general.
It's kind of crazy to me that there are armies out there, and I'm going to say Skaven is one of them,
Yeah.
where their war scrolls and their synergy is very good.
Yep.
They can dominate a board really well, and there's
Yep.
a lot of really cool play.
Yep.
But their battle tactics are so bad
They're bad.
that
They were the worst
just-
in the game.
yeah, they threw him a bone for sure.
The
They
new
gave him
one's
one.
great.
But
The new one's great.
But then there are armies like Daughters of Cain, for instance, where it's just so easy to score battle tactics
Yep.
that, or actually maybe a better example was like older Big Wa, where it's like one of them you didn't even have to be on the board to score your battle tactic.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, you tabled me? Well, I still get 2 points.
Yep.
So how about that? And that's kind of crazy to me that, people are picking armies just because of this one secondary thing instead of being like how well this army actually functions. So I would really prefer it if it was like a universal pool of battle tactics for sure.
I agree with everything you said, everything everyone else said, but the complaining about just battle tactics in general as part of the game, and I see it on Facebook, I see a lot of YouTube channels talk about it. I actually know a lot of content creators that is the single reason that they don't play Age of Sigmar anymore is battle tactics. I know enough of these people, and I've seen enough of this chat that I would be surprised and delighted if we kept battle tactics. I hope I'm wrong. And how far are we in? Could you put a timestamp under my no battle tactics?
Me? You're not gonna me?
Yes. Could you put a timestamp under no battle tactics in my thing? 124. 124. All right, and then put 00 or whatever. Yeah. Like with colons, if you do it.
Oh,
not
like
a date,
actual
but a
time.
timestamp.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm saying, so just to be clear, so we're actually past the hour 24-minute mark. But so that way we'll definitely see this if we watch it. I hope I'm wrong. I really like battle tactics. I don't think that they implemented them well with the books. The problem is, though, and I think we'll continue to see them, there's no way, I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think there's any way that we have battle tactics. And I don't know, like it just felt like when they came out with new battle tomes, part of like the selling feature is like it's one of the things you get when your army gets a book. It's like you get these, you know. Now they did get rid of, I think they got rid of faction specific secondaries in 40k, but I've only played like a few games. Like I played like 3 games of 40k 10th edition. It wasn't really my thing, so I could be wrong. So it's possible. It's possible. I mean, I think everyone agrees that the book battle tactics are the worst. Like it's the worst thing. You know what I mean? They just haven't implemented it well. Like you said, like Daughters of Cain have like the easiest ones ever, and then you compare that with like Skaven, for example, which have, you know, up until now, until we got a new one, the hardest ones. You know, it's like it has to be Tuesday. You know, your opponent's army has to have 3 monsters, and you have to kill them in order, descending order of wounds, or just it's like it gets so granular. Anyway, sorry, I have to keep talking.
No, that's okay. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff in the chat. We gotta catch up. So one thing that I saw in chat that I put in there just because it's fun, Miss Junks Bits said that one fear that they had was that AOS is just going to get nuked because of fantasy players, essentially. Which is,
sorry, wait, who said that?
Miss Junks Bits. It's a little further up actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Miss Junks Bits. It's a rad name, by the way. I have a AOS prediction fear that Joe's going to see just how many fantasy players will never be happy and just scrap it. What, like, scrap what? Do you mean like scrap AOS or scrap the old world?
I assumed it was scrap AOS. That's what I wrote down. But
there's no way, though. It outsells.
I know.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's true. It could happen. Like they nuked the old world at one point, and they didn't have anything else. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's fair. I mean, obviously they had they were planning for it. Yeah, that's interesting. You mean the old world? Oh, okay. You mean they're going to nuke the old world? I mean, they won't do it anytime soon. I don't think they will. I think it's going to be like the Horus Heresy, and then because it's their secondary studio, Miss Junk, if I can call you Miss Junk, you know, it's not as important that they sell to a certain level because they're not, you know, producing like when you make a mold, plastic injection mold, you need to hire a tool and die maker rather. And like those molds cost like, I forget, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars per mold, right? So the amount of investment compared to when they're just cranking out those old silicone molds and pouring hot metal and funky resin into them is so much lower that like their overhead is basically nothing in comparison. So I think it'll be okay because they're basically just not doing their boutique stuff from Forge World anymore, right? That's basically the same people that are making the old world and stuff. So yeah, I think you're safe. Yeah. Sorry.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Damn it. As a prediction that I had. Oh no, sorry. I remember now.
Cool.
This one is more meta-esque,
okay.
But I think that assuming that this is going to be an index edition, which you and I both agree on, and there's many people in the chat that do and don't, I think destruction is going to be overpowered at the outset.
Ooh.
And the reason for that, just to explain my reasoning, and you're welcome to agree or not, and I almost hope that you don't, so I can get more than one thing in my tab. is I think that destruction rules tend to be very simple,
Yep.
so they're very easily interpreted into an index, which has simplified rules, whereas some other factions will have much more complexity to them and have to be dumbed down into something that's simple and just not very good, in my opinion. That's my
Cool.
prediction.
I like
We're going
it.
to see a destruction domination for the first at least 4 months.
I am. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna agree with that. So put it in your column. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not like disagreeing with it, but like I don't think that that's going to be like necessarily true. You know what I mean? Like GW has traditionally, you know, a lot of people think that they just like order more. I don't think that's true. I just think that there's more of order than anything else. So it seems like they're better when, even when they're not. You know what I mean? Like, if like Fire Slayers, Seraphon, KO, and Daughters of Cain are all bad, well, there's still like IDK. You know what I mean? Cities, like there's still so many other armies. I think it just seems like that's the case. So, but Destruction is one of the two factions with the least amount of armies in the game. So if we notice like a Destruction meta outside of BC, obviously, which is perpetual, we're evergreen Destruction here in British Columbia. But if we notice that, then I think it's like almost extra true. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah. Amrit Dragonist says Slanesh armies tend to be the best army for the first few weeks/month, then get nerfed. It
Yeah.
kind of happens every game system and edition. I'm a Slanesh player. That makes sense because Slanesh is very much so like I'm fast,
killy.
and
Yeah.
killy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's very simple.
It seemed like that was the case in 40k 10th edition, and correct me if I'm wrong, Amrit, because I'm definitely not up on the meta there, but it seemed like they were good early on. It's also possible too that like people, you know, like if like Slanesh, Destruction, etc. are it could be a similar thing to what you were saying, where if they're just simple enough, they're faster to get to that mastery stage, where and then other armies that are more complicated just take a little bit more time to marinate. And I did like, by the way, I did like what Miss Junk said. I think AoS is a better game, but would like to see both do well. Totally agreed. Would love to see. I still think the old world has like better like lore and stories because it was developed for so long. That's just naturally gonna be the case. And also I think that they need to step up their AoS lore. They need to make more provocative world building and earth shattering moments. You know, bigger highs, lower lows, more drama. You know, we only see drama in AoS when we're at the end of the edition, and they've got these big fat books where just lots of crazy stuff happens in a short period of time. SCE overpowered for precisely 1 month. Love it. Yeah. Like what happened with third. Yep. I mean, yeah. If they're going to be overpowered, it's usually at the start of an edition. That's a good prediction. Right. That's okay. Matthew beat me to it. Good job, Matthew. I mean, I can't imagine that you and I that anyone's going to disagree on this, but it's a great point. And before we possibly forget, terrain, we need actual terrain rules. Like this is something we've been complaining about since, I mean, we were complaining about in AoS 2 for sure. Let's just say since AoS 2. I think
probably.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think we were complaining. The main complaining happened once 40k 9th edition came out, and we were like, "Whoa, those are terrain rules," and we got all like, you know, jealous over it.
Yeah. To add on to that prediction, and I'll give the credit to Matthew as well.
Please.
And you can scroll down so the stream can see that.
I didn't think you typed it.
I put an all-terrain SUV as the image, and I think GW is going to get better terrain rules, but and this is where I'm going to insult them. It's going to be in the laziest way possible.
Yep.
They're probably going to like literally copy paste either Old Town Throwdown or some other big tournaments terrain rules essentially, and just be like, that's what we're using. That's the terrain rules now, and then That's it.
I think they're going to do something very similar to 40K, where it's
Think
like line of sight it for X, Y, and Z, and just like if it's a forest, it has these types of rules. If it's a building, it has these types of rules. If it's just a wall, you can go through it or whatever. You know what I mean? Infantry and that kind of deal. And that might be a little bit of wishful thinking, because I really like the terrain rules in 40K. That's one of the few things that I like better. Whizbang, he says, hot take, Kragnos gets moved to Beasts of Chaos and they get a massive new wave of models. That is a hot freaking take. I'm sorry, Whizbang, to be the one to tell you this. It ain't gonna happen. Like, that would be rad though. I mean, like, I get it. Like, obviously you're thinking the Shag. I don't know if Alex is here in the chat, but he was ever since Kragnos came out, he was basically complaining about that. So yeah, that is a hot take. I like it though. I'm here for it.
That went down to the next page.
Okay. Nice.
We're gonna be scrolling up and down here depending on which column it goes in. But
that's true.
But yes.
That's true. Okay, so I think we agree. Unfortunately, I think we just flat out agree that Stormcast is going to be the other faction. I feel like we don't even need to. Was that like something that it was just so obvious? Okay. Okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
I'm going to predict that we are going to finally get Malarian elves in Age of Sigmar during this edition.
I agree with that.
Okay.
So we can find the Night Elf Mohawk.
Ludivicus says, I actually worried that Beasts of Chaos is at risk of getting squatted. I don't think so. Unless the old world like just kills it in sales. I don't think that'll happen. But I don't know their sales numbers, so it could happen. Like, it really depends on their sales numbers, because I do think that Beasts of Chaos is something that might do better over in the old world, but I can't imagine them getting rid of it altogether. What did you read that was funny?
Just Mabal saying 2 LRL books this edition again. I think it's going to be 5 personally, but yeah.
5? I thought you said fine at first. I was like, oh, did you say 5? I mean, that I don't even know if that is counted as a prediction, but sure, we'll give it to you. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you know, at least 2 LRL books. Joking aside, I don't think we get them. I don't think we got 2 in AOS 3, did we? I think we only had them in AOS 2, right?
I don't know.
I think we got the initial release, and then I think the second release of the kangaroo people and whatnot was still in AOS 2, and it came with Broken Realms Techless, I want to say. But correct me if I'm wrong. And then once we hit AOS 3, we got 1 book, and that was it. A wish list for me would be anything but Stormcast in the Start collecting set, because there's just too many models. Like, they're overloading and they can't keep up with it, and I don't think it's a good thing for the line or for
I agree 100%, because like Stormcast does not have the same faction representation that's like Space Marines do.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't justify as much like, oh well, like 70% of our players play this one army, so we're going to give them a lot of options. Like Stormcast, usually when you see tournament representation is like sub 5% or something, or like maybe 6%. Exactly. I think was what Honest Wargamer had it as. So,
and 5% is still really good.
It is, but
it just doesn't
1 in
justify.
20 players bringing it to a tournament does not justify like 100 War Scrolls.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, exactly. Like, it may be more that is more popular because there's like how many different factions in the game? Like, there's more than 20, so then that's more than, you know, like average. Like, they are more popular than average, but you know, yeah, like even when Skaven are down in the dumps, you'll still see around 5% representation at tournaments for them. 5 elf books for all 3 armies. Damn. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, okay. Justin says they said at LVO Q&A that Beasts of Chaos are not going away. I hope so. Like, I actually don't think so, and the reason why is because of what happened during the Old World when they blew it up and they got rid of Bretonia and they got rid of Tomb Kings, and like, my God, people still feel raw about that. Even though they brought them back and gave them new models, people were like, "I'm traumatized from you taking away my toys that I got to enjoy for only 35 years." Like, holy moly. So I don't think they're going to get rid of them. I don't think they're going to get rid of... That actually kind of leans towards your Bone Splitter statement. You know, that was the main reason why I didn't think so. But they're not getting rid of a faction if they get rid of like a sub-faction either. So that's a pretty ballsy prediction still, I think. Yeah.
I have another prediction for AOS 4, which is that instead of getting a triumph when you are below points, you just get an extra enhancement.
Oh, so you would... The only problem with that is then you have to pick it at the table, and then the person's like, "Oh, I don't know what to pick."
That's true.
Or what you could do is like it could be in your triumph bid, so it's like, yeah, that would be cool. Do you want to put that down under your predictions?
Let's do it.
I'll have to scroll up like 3 pages. No, not that far. Top of the second page. GW should throttle back on SCE and then lean into cities for good guys. And they're, yeah, I agree. I mean, they're more varied as well, Matthew. There's just more like room to play. Like you've got Talia on this giant scorpion lion. I always forget my trolly thing that I call it. You've got, you know, the guy on the Ogren. You've got cannons. You've got cavalry. Yeah, keep your hands off my triumph. Well, we'll see, Ludivicus. It depends on which one of us' points are lower. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, there's just so much variety. And like, what's crazy too is like, if you think about Stormcast are popular. I'm not saying they're not popular, first of all, but like, actually, you know, we've talked about this a lot. We're all in agreement. They need to throttle back on Stormcast. I don't think they will, because people usually work to not get fired and not to do like a really great job and hit baseballs out of the park. So maybe next edition we'll see something more interesting, but yeah. Carson, would you like to predict an army that we'll get during 4th edition?
I think it's just going to be Shadow Elves, to be honest.
You think that's the only army we get? For an only new army?
I think I would be surprised if it's more than one, to be honest. I know that a lot of people want to see Chaos Dwarves. I see you in the chat, Amrit. And I'm sorry.
I love it. Yeah.
I think it's just going to be Shadow Elves. That makes the most sense to me. Or what's going to happen is Shadow Elves kind of just get like lumped in with Daughters of Cain somehow, or like they're mixed into like another army.
Orklands.
Yeah. And then we get an additional like true new army after that.
That's fair. My balls.
I think there's going to be one answer. Like new army is the big thing.
I think we're going to get Shadow Elves finally. We still have like other things that they've been hinting at forever, like Kurnothi and whatnot. I don't think we're going to get Kurnothi yet, because they've been talking about Malarian since AOS, like since the dawn of Age of Sigmar. Like he's had a story in there from the beginning. But I think my balls took my answer. I think we're going to get Silent People at some point in the edition. Because we don't have a lot of death factions, we don't have a lot of destruction factions, and I don't know where they go with chaos. You know what I mean? Like they would have to make like a new chaos god or something, which would be epic as hell. You know, if they made like a Malik or something like that. But we've already got like way more than they do in 40k. So I think destruction or death probably deserves. I would love to see a non-Nagash worshipping death faction. It's like an actual proper foil to Nagash, or if they just add whatever another death faction and they just kind of split it up. Like Nagash loses control, and he only retains control of OBR, for example, and then everyone else is like, we're not under your thumb anymore, you know, you big bony idiot. Yeah.
Bonehead.
Never mind. Even I have to watch myself. We'd like to see Chaos Dwarves, right? Yeah, I feel triumphs would just go away before adding some nuance. Maybe.
Miss Junksbit says, think we'll ever see a shuffle of some order factions moved into destruction/death? It honestly kind of seems like it, and that relates to a comment that I saw up higher, which I think Keith said. It might have been someone else. I'm sorry if that's the case. Where order is the same as destruction and chaos. They just throw better parades. They appear nicer, essentially.
Yeah.
Where it wouldn't surprise me if some of the factions like were moved to destruction.
I agree. Like I think some factions like Daughters, like they're basically like being misled into thinking that Cain is still around and that, you know, we worship the murder god and we just kill things. That's like really in line with what destruction is at its core. But Order aren't the good guys. They're basically the people that hate chaos the most and have banded together against chaos specifically. I don't think we'll see them move. That's a really cool idea though. And I think we should put it down in the chat, you know. Who said it again?
Miss Junksbits.
Oh, Miss Junksbits. Okay. Should I add it to the chat side?
I'll take care of it.
Okay, cool. Dankeschön. Isn't Usharan the anti-Nagash death? Not really. Actually, if you're interested in the AO or FEC lore, rather, they did 2+ Tough did he did like a revamp of that, and he, you know, and you'll kind of get Usharan's story through that. Yeah, if you're interested, or you can find, you know, or if you obviously get the book or whatever. But remind me later, Keith, and I can send you something, you know, that kind of talks about it. So basically Usharan was like, he was kind of under Nagash, and he was like this really handsome prince guy. And there is kind of an unreliable narrator in the book, but then something happens, not to spoil anything, and he goes kind of crazy. Nagash puts him in a cage, and then I think it's Sigmar, when he goes on a rampage against Nagash, I think he accidentally breaks open Usharan's cage, but it might have been Kragnos. I actually forget now. But yeah, it was a really good read in the book, and I'm hoping that there's more lore to be had in the newest Dawnbringer book. That's true. Destruction is against established civilization. Daughters of Cain want a civilization. Yep, that's a great point. My dog just dropped something really loudly on the floor up above. I don't know if you guys heard it, but okay.
Didn't hear it at all. Or at least I didn't.
Okay. As a New Yorker, I've seen some bad parades. I bet. Oh man.
All right. Do you have any more predictions? Our two, I guess our agreed section is pretty big.
It is pretty big. I'll try and come up with. Man, some of the stuff that I had prepared, I was just like, there's no way he's going to agree with this. I think you agree with everything. I did have some ideas. Well,
what about like core rules-esque stuff? What do you think like needs to be changed and what could be changed?
That's a great call. Well, like some stuff is so minor it's not really worth talking about. Like it's kind of stuff they've already started working on. Like I think there's going to be like universal bodyguard rules that's just going to be baked into the rules. But that's like so minor, I don't think it's really worth talking about.
Why don't we expand it into something bigger? And I agree with it as well, which is universal keyword rules, essentially, like universally agreed upon rules that you can just slap the keyword onto a war scroll and then they get that thing.
Right, like what they did in 40K, where it's like if
Yeah.
you have this role, they might do that. It kind of adds like an initial sort of buy-in complication to how people perceive the rules. Like when you first encounter them, you're like, because like I was learning the old world, and it's like, yeah, it has this, it has like, you know, like I forget what I still don't remember. Like for 40K, for example, it's like lethal hits. I think I could even be wrong about like what they're even called. I think lethal hits is like exploding sixes, and then I do have a thing that I thought of the other day, and then I forgot to. Well, anyway, so that would be cool. I would love to see that. Do I think they're gonna do it? Well, they did it in 40K, they did it, and they've always had it in the old world, so I'm going to say I agree with that. Unfortunately, I think it will happen.
Okay. All right, I put that down in our agreed tab.
Dang it.
I think it makes sense that they're going to be trying to do that a little bit more, and they kind of already did.
Yeah.
Where, like in this past War Scroll, we saw that bodyguards have become the same as wards, essentially. Like they are wards, which creates a lot of different interactions. That's kind of neat. So it just sucks when you're like reading a whole bunch of different iterations of the exact same thing.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
then they forget to update like one of them, and that one becomes overpowered or something. Or
Yeah, it makes the game easier to balance too, because they can kind of assign a value to something, and then if they're wrong about that value, like they have been in the past, like for example, like 2-cast wizards used to cost a fortune. They were always a lot of points. And now they're just getting cheaper and cheaper, and so they've kind of realized, but like if 2-cast wizard was a thing, then like a keyword, then they would kind of know what each thing is sort of worth. But my prediction, and I know this isn't very original, but because I'm going back to this 40K well, I think we might see objective control, which they have in 40K now, a value assigned to what things are worth on an objective, added to AoS. It gives them a way of like adding value to things like battle line, and other units that you like. It allows them another place to play in, essentially.
I agree that would make things better, but I don't think they're going to do it. So I'm going to put that in your tab,
Okay.
which is objective control.
War scroll stat, I guess.
War scroll stat. Yeah.
I don't think they're going to change Battle Shock like they did in 40K.
I think Battleshock's kind of fine.
I think it's perfect. Okay. Do we want? I've got a wild. I actually think this is like my craziest prediction. Maybe I've had some pretty spicy takes. Okay. My prediction is they change for the first time, possibly. Well, not really. They're going to change the size of holding objectives. It's not going to be 6 inches anymore. I think they're going to make it like either like 3 or 4 inches from like a specific size, like they do in 40K, or it's going to be less. I'm going to say it's going to be less than 6 inches, whether it's 4, whether it's 5, whether it's 3. I don't see it going down to 3 because that's really small, and it's a melee based game. But I think they're going to change. Well, I don't necessarily think this, but this is just kind of it's like a prediction. Yeah.
Okay.
Change the size of objectives.
Okay, I don't agree with that. I'll give that to you.
I don't think they will. It's almost like a wish list thing. I actually would wish that they would do like 5 inches. Like my change would be very small, but what it would allow is them to have, they could play a little bit more with how many objectives we have, because when you have 6-inch objectives, I don't think it's sustainable to have more than 6 objectives, because otherwise the whole map is objectives, especially with the size of the board changing now. It just makes people grouchy. Do you remember, Ladificus, when they changed the table size? People lost their damn mind and continue to lose their damn mind. And when the old world came out, people lost their mind again. And they're like, this is just a suggestion. Like, it doesn't even matter. That's my prediction. Like, I would like 5-inch objectives, but I don't know what they will do, you know? Or 4 inches from like a set marker would be really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
4 inches would kind of make sense because it, like both dimensions of the table, 4 inches is a multiple of.
It is.
Wait, no, is it?
40.
Yes.
20,
yeah.
Yep. It's like 11. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense, but I still don't think it's going to happen. But it'd be interesting.
I'm not. Sure. I wouldn't actually even say I think it's going to happen, to be honest. But I would like to see it happen, mainly because it would allow, you know, like I already said, you know, the ability to change how many objectives we have. Yeah, and I agree. The smaller table, it was such a great change, and I actually really liked how they made the. I mean, I guess this isn't really a show about all the changes that we really liked in AOS 3, but yeah. Oh, actually, here's a spicy one. And this one I'm pretty sure of. They get rid of save stacking.
How so?
Like, so. Well, basically, like either I think they're gonna get rid of all out defense. I think Mystic Shield might change again. I don't know to what, but like, I just think that save stacking is kind of something that I don't necessarily dislike, but I've seen a lot of negativity directed toward, to the point where I think that even as a PR move, they get rid of it, which is kind of like my double turn sort of prediction. It's like it'd be a PR move.
How do they get rid of it though?
So, well, first of all, all they have to do is get rid of the command ability, all out defense. That makes like a huge change right out the gate. Or you could they could just make a rule like you can only ever apply a positive modifier to your save one time. So it's like you can never, like you'll never get rid of -2 rend as a negative deduction on your save, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I would be willing to agree with you if it expands more to things get less tough.
Yes.
I think I agree with that. Where it is somewhat of a problem now, where it's just like, here's my unkillable thing.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, maybe it's got like a 3-up ethereal save, maybe it's got a ward, maybe it's got
it's got both.
Maybe it's got both. Maybe I can get it on a 0-up or something like that. Yeah. I think those big unkillable things create a lot of feel bad moments, and I think that they're going to try and stray away from that in the new edition. Yep. So I would agree with that. Things get less tough.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then kind of a follow-up to that is, I think part of the reason why they want to do that is I think they want to make the game a bit faster. And if things are killier, the game just gets faster. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
I think there's maybe like a disconnect at GW where they think, well, these people, they paid their money, so they probably want to play 5 full rounds. No, I actually never want to play 5 full rounds. I would prefer it if I was averaging 3 to 4 rounds, because that means that some really cool things happened. I know it leans more into the Timmy side of things, but it doesn't make the game any less tactical, in my opinion, and therefore it just makes the game more fun for more people, and it just will help the game sell better. And yeah, that's my story.
So the prediction, average game is faster to play.
They're going to speed up the game somehow.
I agree with that.
You know, they could even just make it so that like 2,000 points gets you less going forward. Like there's so many ways that they can do that. Yeah. Just suck at the game like me. I'm always done by round 3. God dang. F's in the chat for Matthew. Maybe they just remove round 5. That's an interesting idea. God dang. I don't know if that's a serious suggestion, but it's actually kind of cool in a way, because then it's just like, well, you get all the tactical, you know, like they don't really have to change anything. It's just like the game ends at round 4, guys. So, you know, get your game on, figure it out. Are you guys pro nerf or anti nerf?
It's nerf or nothing.
I'm not sure.
I don't actually know what that means.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, unless you mean the company. Like, I like their footballs. I like their Nerf guns.
Swords.
The Nerf swords. We've got a couple of Nerf swords. We got the zombie. Anyway, I don't know why I'm explaining that. Oh yeah, Amrit Dragoness has another, fire one. I would like to see the ability to make a customizable character for each of the factions, something with a point buy system that's unique to each player. They did do that. It's called what's it called again? It's the thing in Azir where they make the Anvil of Apotheosis. That's what it was called. And you could make your own thing. They did have a point system. They did it in, I don't think it'll happen because it wasn't popular enough when they did it in AoS 3. If they did it with actual points, that would be cool. That would be really cool. That would be a great way of like expanding the books, hey? Where you could like, this is your customizable character section. Like you can pick one of these 2 different hero types, and here are the things you can give it, and these are the points it costs. Like that would be rad. Yeah, I would love to see that. That's a wish list thing for me. I don't think they have the balls. Get it? I know it wasn't my balls, but sorry. Yeah. Just when you thought I was going to zig, I zag, my shotgun that fires Nerf discs is fun. You be like, pull, and then you shoot your shotgun full of Nerf discs, and then someone has a real shotgun and they shoot the Nerf discs. Like clay pigeon shooting. Issue with Anvil style hero building is monopose models. I mean, that's where you kind of get to do the old fantasy thing, my balls, where you get to like, do a lot of customization. Like they don't really sell. I got a little guy carrying along with me. A clan rat came along for the ride, but they don't sell like a Crypt Infernal Courtier model that doesn't come with the. Oh, that's actually, there's my next prediction. They get rid of everything like this. Actually, this is not a thing in Flesh Eater Courts. What I'm trying to say is, so you know how like some boxes you buy them and then you can build the hero out of the unit? I think that hero is going to be part of the unit. They're going to become the sergeant in virtually every faction. Like when you buy, I'm no longer going to be able to have a Crypt Infernal Courtier and a unit of Crypt Flayers. It's just going to be, he is like the sergeant of that group. Because, I really enjoyed making this model. Like it's some of the most fun I've ever had. But like I had to carve green stuff to make that thing. You know what I mean? Like most people aren't going to be up for that. Although kit bashing is like a really fun thing. Like Amrit just said, kit bashing is a thing, and you're always left over with enough to I think it says build your own. Oh, I forgot to turn off the reactions. Dang it. I meant to do that. I knew I forgot something. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea. Like I said, I don't see them actually making another Anvil of Apotheosis because I think from their perspective it failed in AOS 3 when they did it for the Thondia campaign box. But yeah. You got another one for us, Carson?
I mean, what you said kind of like feeds into something that a lot of people have been talking about, which is heroes and units.
Right. Oh, yeah. The thing that we've been talking about forever now?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Is that going to be a thing, do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. I've said it like as soon as 40K came out, I've been telling you, I know you remember, I was like, this is coming to AOS. So it would be crazy to go back on that prediction now. But because it works better in AOS than it does in Heroes. So I haven't seen your cool things in a little bit because I haven't been scrolling down for the chat. Heroes and units. Heroes. Hide no. I don't know. I never actually watched that show. I just know the one character. Hide. Or was his name Hiro? Was it Hide or Hiro?
I don't know. I never watched it, so
I thought I remember like thinking like, oh, that's funny. His name's Hiro and he's on the show called Heroes. Yeah, no, I'm like, as soon as it came to 40K, I was like, this works way better. And I'll just explain because I talked about it with Carson like right away. And so in 40K, you can add heroes to units, right? So like, you can add what's like a good universal thing? You can add a Claw Lord for Skaven to a unit of Clan Rats or a unit of Storm Vermin. They become part of that unit. They all move together. They have, they share the same movement characteristic. And then sometimes they get each other's keywords and different things. Like there's interactions that go on. And the reason why this is so much better in AOS than it is in 40K is because in 40K, they still use strength versus toughness. And so you can have like a Hive Tyrant, which is toughness, I forget what it is, like 8 or something like that. And a unit of Hive Guard that it joins, and they're toughness 6. And then it becomes, when you're rolling your attacks, you're using the unit's toughness. And it could go either way. Like it could go for the character or against the character. And then the attacks get rolled over. And if you kill the Hive Guard, you're still rolling like 3s, for example, if you have, a toughness of 7, whereas you'd be rolling 5s if you were actually rolling into the Hive Tyrant. And it just fundamentally doesn't work as well as in AOS, where we just have 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound, or whatever it is, and you don't need to worry about it, And then you don't even have to worry about the save characteristic because you get to choose where things get removed. Obviously, you're going to pick the hero to go last. And then you're removing those guys, and then the save characteristic of the hero comes next, And then when you all out defense, it's everything. It's or if that's still a thing, like the hero and the unit commands that unit to give, to take all out defense or something like that, right? Yeah.
I think it would be nice for a lot of reasons, and like there's a really bad issue in Age of Sigmar right now where you have a lot of foot heroes that kind of do the same thing, and you see the exact same attack profile, right. And they have like one kind of special ability. Like it's always 5 attacks, 3s, -1, 2 damage. That's right. The foot hero profile.
It's so lame.
And then they do like one kind of special thing that usually doesn't really amount to much. And because of that, like people just pick the one that does a special thing that they particularly like, and they just spam it. Essentially, you don't really see a lot of diversity. Right. Whereas it would be nice to see like this hero buffs this unit really well, so you can bring them in combination with that. That's what you can do, and it's a little bit more utility focused instead of just like here's your small beat stick with the flavor of the week, essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. I have another prediction too, by the way.
Okay.
So, and you might agree with this, you might not, but I think there's going to be more universal commands. I don't know that we're going to keep all the ones we have, but I think we're going to have like a reasonable expansion to the amount of commands we can take, and I think we're going to get more command points because it's fun. It's just a fun thing to do. You get, you know what I mean? Like you get, like let's just say it's only one more you get. right? You get one more per turn, and there's like maybe three more. No, let's just say there's three more. That's not much, but it would just add to the tactical depth. You know what I mean? You have to plan out a little bit more. It just gives you more things to do, more ways to interact. I would like to see more like reactions, like reaction type. Like Unleash Hell and Redeploy are like two of the coolest things they've ever thought of. And it's like a reaction type thing. It's like, I'm playing in your turn. And because I've kind of said from the beginning, the biggest problem with the double turn or with getting double turned isn't like losing the game or whatever. It's just your opponent takes 2 turns in a row and you're sitting there for like an hour and you don't do anything for an hour. And that's what feels bad to me. It's like, I want to give me the ball, coach. I want to play. And they're never going to get rid of the once they get rid of the double turn, it's no longer Age of Sigmar. Like once they get rid of it, like completely, like until they go like me, you, right? I pointed in the opposite direction, but you know what I meant. If that happens, we're no longer playing Age of Sigmar, in my opinion. But it doesn't mean we can't like get rid of as much negativity surrounding it as possible. And I think part of that is if we add more reactive, interesting ways for the person whose turn is not taking place to interact in that turn, it's way more fun. Like a command ability, if they keep the magic phase, and we don't know that they will, a command ability could just be, you get an extra spell. It's like, we don't know. Maybe they'll keep heroic actions. Maybe they won't. I actually don't think they will. I think heroic actions and monstrous rampages are something that goes.
That's a big prediction in and of itself. But yeah.
I hope not. I think it's actually one of my favorite things that they added to AoS 3. But I think they're going to do something. I feel like if they keep enough of these things, like heroic actions, monstrous rampages, battle tactics, some of the what do you call it? Like quintessential new AoS 3 parts, then it's not going to feel like AoS 4. And that's the thing that they care about more than anything else. This is the new edition, and these are the crazy changes we're making. So if you're not already playing AoS, you should get back into the game, everyone. And if you're already playing it, you're going to love our ideas and the changes we're making. Simplified, not simple for 40K. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like a slogan like for a campaign for like getting elected. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of they have to make fundamental changes just for like their shareholders, right? So I think they will get rid of some of these core mechanics from AoS 3 just because it's no longer. I hope I'm wrong though. I love heroic actions. I love monstrous rampages. I think every army should have had them from the beginning.
Yeah. I don't think. I feel like if they're going to be simplifying things, it's probably, instead of just straight up removing some things from the game, I think it's probably just going to be like little things that, like when you think of like what takes the longest in a game, it's usually the movement phase and then moving in the combat phase, honestly, and deciding how you move in the combat phase.
Yep.
So movement phase, I don't think there's a whole lot they can do to really slim it down.
There's one more thing that I would add to that.
Okay.
Choosing your battle tactic.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. Or like planning out your turn is always going to be an issue. Mm-hmm. So battle tactic, that could be kind of like, obviously if they get rid of battle tactics, it's not going to be...
That's true.
Yeah. But I think that they're probably going to simplify things in the sense that like these combat changes that we've been talking about, where it's like potentially base to base, you're not measuring like all the minute little things. Like it's not going to take someone a million years to like pile in properly.
Yep.
For them to like properly game it. And while it is more technical and like at a super high level, it's more in depth. It's definitely way slower, right? Like if you spend 5-10 minutes piling stuff in a combat phase, that's like a huge amount of time saved if it's all just base to base instead.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Totally agreed. And I agree with Warpstone Enjoyer, fun over balance. You know, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, if all you really care about is balance and tactics, you can play chess, you can play Go, you can play, you know what I mean? Shogi. Like there's so many games out there, but we came to this game for, you know, like what's the word? Like we came to the game for fun, fantasy, and immersion. You know, that's why we're doing this. So it has to be
distinctly,
fun. Yeah.
I distinctly remember at the World Championships I was playing against, I think it's Frank Selv is his name. He was the Seraphon player that I played in round 5 of pool play.
Okay.
And he rolled for his Croak, and I think it only had like 4 or 5 wounds on it or something, so chances are it wasn't going to explode.
Yes.
He rolls a 5, and a 6. And Croak just like disappears into the ether, and then after that, he lost a roll off into the double turn where I doubled him. And at the end of the game, I was like, I'm sorry, the dice definitely favored me in that one. Like, I feel bad. And I always remember that he said, if I wanted to play like a perfectly balanced game, I would play chess.
Yeah.
Is exactly what he said.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's true. Like we're all a little bit timid because we play this game, right? Like you want big things to happen. You're rolling. It is gambling. So
it absolutely is. Yeah, it's gambling and chess and fantasy. Yeah, because like, or there's like, you know, like it wouldn't even have to be chess. Like there's other ways of doing it where it's more controlled, but like I was playing video, you know, I stopped playing, like I said, tabletop games for like 20 years. And then I came back and just that feeling of picking up like 20 dice. And I remember because at first it was on Clan Rats and they've always been 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage, right? And just picking up a load of dice and rolling them. And that is, my God, it's so much fun. Like if you've just been playing video games and different things like that, the tactile feel of just rolling a bunch of dice on a table is mwah. It is absolute perfection. It is Magneto. And it's addictive, you know,
keeps it coming back.
It does. It really does. You know, like we all, like you said it perfectly. We all are a little bit Timmy for sure. You know, some of us more than others. Warp lightning cannon? Don't mind if I do. I can take 3 and still overcharge them with 1 character and bet that you won't kill them? Yes, of course I'm doing that. Overcharge, that even though it has 1 wound less left and has basically no benefits to me? Yes, thank you. I will do that.
After all, why shouldn't I?
Why shouldn't I? Oh, man. Couldn't be more true. Chess is not even a balanced game since one player will always go first. Yep, there is like I forget what, like how small the advantage is to white. But yeah, it's true. It's true. Dice are jerks. Acceptance is key. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like dealing with like bosses and coworkers and stuff, right? You know, life isn't always fair. That's true. Mobiles makes a good point earlier. I'm sorry if we missed anything. One thing to remember is battle tactics and grand strats are only used in a battle pack that uses them. So you don't use them in narrative, for example. Sorry. And you don't use them in like, or you wouldn't have used them in Thondia, for example. Like that would have been, you would have been rolling to see who goes first. That kind of thing. I don't think we're going to see that, but I wanted to make that a prediction, but I'm not ultimately.
What's prediction? Sorry.
That
what wasn't?
I don't think they're going to get rid of the drops determines who goes first.
I see.
Yeah.
One thing I think they will get rid of is the idea of open and narrative play.
I hope so.
I think because like those are just sections that people skip over. I think if someone wants to make house rules, if someone wants to play like a specific version of their thing, they're just going to do it anyway. They don't need to have like a structured guide in order to do so.
I
So
think they'll get rid of open play. I don't think they'll get rid of like. I think they'll have like a narrative.
I don't think
section.
Path to Glory is going anywhere. I just think that
Yeah.
the idea that you have like open play and then matched play,
Right.
everyone is always just going to gravitate to matched play.
It.
Probably.
I think they will have a section of the core book that has something along those lines. Match play and X. Hopefully they call it narrative play. But like having a narrative section and an open section is such an insane waste of everyone's time, space, paper, the environment, their money, like GW's money. No one plays open play. I've never in my life, and I've been playing this game for almost 8 years now, like I said, and I have introduced so many people to this game. It's mind-boggling. And I have never met anyone even suggest that we play open play. I have heard, I have had friends and I have played narrative games, where someone has an idea like, let's do a siege and then blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? But yeah. One of my favorite reasons for playing Slaanesh is I get to roll like 60 dice a turn if I manage things right. Exactly. That's another fun thing of playing like any kind of horde army. Yeah. It's like crack or peeing in the shower. You know what I mean? It's just like you try it one time and you're just like, why have I not always been doing this?
My God.
I saw a stand-up bit by Chelsea Cook, and she had this bit about peeing in the shower, and it was so funny. Yeah, very funny stand-up comedian. Anyway, chess with X-wing style simultaneous move plotting. Interesting. So I have seen some people suggest that we'll go to like like Kill Team, like, or Lord of the Rings, like what do they call it?
Alternating activation.
Thank you. Alternating activations is generally the keyword or buzzword that everyone uses. That's not going to happen in a war game. It just doesn't work because like the game already takes so much time, and if you keep going back and forth, it adds more time to the game. It just does. Yeah. I also thought about adding for my thing initiative on the war scroll, but I was like, they're not doing that. There's no way. There's no freaking way. But it is a melee game. Like it's a fantasy game. It's a melee game. Like initiative kind of makes sense. But it's just, it adds another factor for them to balance, and I just don't see it ever happening.
I think I'm happy with the whole like strike first.
Me too. I am.
Strike
really
middle,
am.
strike last.
Yep.
Sort of pattern where, yeah, it's simpler, and I think it does the job. So
I agree. I enjoy rolling 300 dice for a brick of 60 plague monks. Yeah, I mean, I definitely roll those in batches, but exactly, like giving them all the bonuses so they stacking, amount of attacks and such, and yeah, it's fun.
yeah, Mabal says I would just like to see them make comp a seasonal system. 6 months is better than 12. Look at how disappointing this battle scroll was, and part of that was just this past battle scroll would have been a GHP. I think this is a thing that they can never win in, because there's going to be people on both sides where it's just like, I don't want to buy a book every 6 months, and then the other camp is everything is getting stale. So
it's just a matter of how much you play.
Yeah, exactly.
And I actually think, and I hate to say it like this, I really do, but I think that's a decision for their, like, what do you call it? Like that's like actually like a decision that their board needs to make. They have to look at how much money they make and whether it's worth it or not. But if they're making any money at all, and I mean any money at all, like if they can just justify paying the people to do it, it's like one of those, it's something that is adding to the game that they're not seeing. And what I mean by that is, like, if we have them every 6 months, it's more likely to keep people involved because the meta is changing and whatnot. Whereas if you have these really long stale periods and it doesn't shift, the meta doesn't shift, There's more likely for people to be like, I'm getting kind of bored with the game, and then they walk away. And they're not going to see those numbers. They're not going to see when that happens. There's no like exit survey for Age of Sigmar, right? But yeah. I agree, though. I think 6 months is actually perfect, but there is, like you just said, there's a lot of people. Like when we would do the new GHBs, there was always people who saying like, I don't play enough games to justify buying a new book every 6 months. And to those people too, don't forget there is still stuff like Wahapedia. Like, if you could buy one book for your whole friend group, like 6 people, and then just take pictures and just share it. You know what I mean? Like, or one person can manage it. You can run a campaign. Like I've done all of these things before, just to keep the community alive. Yeah. And you don't even have to use them either. Like there's a lot of people who are like, I hate battle tactics. I'm just using the core rules. I play one game every 2 months. This is good enough for me. And everyone should do that. That's one of the beauties of wargaming, is that it's not like a video game. Like you can do whatever you want. You can literally just make asymmetrical play where one person has unlimited stuff and then you make up your own objective. Like, you know what I mean? Like we talked about doing that on the channel early days. Me and someone else. And his idea was just like, you have Skaven, I'm in a fortress, you have endless stuff, and I'm just trying to survive. And it's like one of those, like those campaign missions where you're surrounded and you're just, it's like a survival mission in a video game or something like that, and I was like, that sounds cool. We never did it because, yeah. But
it ends up taking a lot more effort than you think usually, because then all of a sudden you're just like, okay, it can't truly be unlimited, but there has to be like rules around it. And
it was like they come in every turn. I forget what it was, but like the problem is like I ended up making like almost like a board decision with that, because it was just like we're looking at like when we tried other things on the channel, like how little views it got at the time, especially, and compared to the main battle reports, which were getting really good views by comparison. Or we even tried, we did a Thondia. You can look it up on the channel. Me and Rob Tons, we both made our own like heroes. I made like my Doom Wheel into a hero, and I used the Anvil of Apotheosis, and I upgraded him. I gave him all these cool things, and he did the same thing. And then we both had unlimited, like, or whatever the maximum amount of Apotheosis points was, plus a 2,000 point army. We did that, and then you can look at the numbers, and like they're just staggeringly different. But yeah, 6 month competitive GHB are fine, but give us 12-month Thondia style books. That would be rad. That would be super rad. I actually really like those, and I think if they just did a better job with those books, Keith, then we would have seen them again. But yeah, they pooped the bed. Remember that's when we got Kronspine as well. Everyone's favorite Kronspine, right? That thing that's
great.
No one complained about, like, and everyone thought was super balanced, and it was like you honestly didn't see it that much in tournament lists, but the opposite of actually everything I just said. That was, yeah.
I think realistically they are going to switch back to the 6 month GHB after the new edition releases.
Yeah.
I don't know. The narrative thing is interesting though. Like,
which one?
So Maballs is saying like a narrative version of a GHB every 6 months.
Right.
And then previously Keith said 12-month Thondia style books for everyone else. Like that makes sense too, I think, where instead of it being a giant campaign that's happening, like we have Dawnbringers right now, we had Thondia before.
Yep.
It would be nice for it to be like every set period of time this happens, instead of just like this massive spam of like these series of books that are kind of going to get thrown away pretty soon.
Well, and we've always had them in AOS, and we got less of them in AOS 3 than we ever have in any other edition. Like we had Firestorm in AOS 1, like there were so many different like narrative campaigns that they did and extra books, and it's really just a matter of execution. And honestly, like if they wanted to give more value, no, I don't think we'll combine them, but like, just make them good, I guess. It's like, like if like we played the Thondia style one, and it was like, oops, sorry. if you don't have like they had separate battle tactics that, so you didn't use any of the core ones, you didn't use the ones from the GHB, you used the ones that were in the Thondia book, and half of them you needed a Kronspine for, and we were both like, we don't even like that Kronspine, you know, we didn't want to take one. So it was just like, well, we couldn't even do half of the, it was really lame. They dropped the ball, and yeah, I hope they keep trying, because I agree with what you guys were saying. Yeah. More of that, please. Yeah, I wish he'd been more fluffy. Used to be 3 ways to play. That's true. But I think they're going to kind of lean more and more away from that, my balls. You know. If they do make changes that's within 6 months, they can just make them free. We'll save them printing money. Interesting.
He says, my biggest prediction for AOS 4, I will still play it, and I will have fun.
That's a great prediction.
What? Yeah, let's all aspire to have that be our prediction for AOS 4, I think.
I totally agree, and I'm sorry, I don't want to bring the mood down either, but if they take a giant fat turd of a dump on this game, we also don't owe them anything. You know what I mean? Like, now I can't imagine, because it's always been my favorite game, but there was a time during AOS 2, you know, after OBR came out and Slanesh, and I was just like, my God, they cannot balance this game. And it was just like these roller coaster ride. The book comes out, it's way too powerful, and they over nerf it and everything, and then it sucks, and it was just like this constant up and down. And I was just like, you know what, 8th edition is rad for 40k, I'm gonna go play that for a time. But I would be super shocked if it wasn't still my favorite game. It's always been my favorite game. So yeah.
I have hope. I see them doing certain things from like a competitive perspective where, you know, now they're spinning up like a true world championships, like a big thing that a lot of people are getting invited to. They're organizing a lot of their own tournaments. I see Matt Rose, like one of the main, or if not the main designer for AOS, like at these tournaments a lot. Like he was at LVO, he was at WCW, and I'm sure that he goes to other big events too. GW just kind of like took ownership of the ITC essentially.
Yep, that's true.
It's
that's
basically
huge.
like a big expression that they're interested in these stats and this information.
That's a great point.
That hopefully they're going to be using to the benefit of the game, right? So
right.
I have hope that it's going to be either just as good or better. And maybe that sounds like a little bit simping, but that's okay. I've been proven wrong twice in a row so far. I'm happy to be, you know, I'm happy to not be proven wrong again by now believing them, I guess.
I agree. You know, I've been playing this game since the very first GHB ever came out in 2016. It's when I started. And the game as a whole has only gotten better, in my opinion. Bounty hunters, you know, there's like a couple of like little minor fails, you know, in GHBs and whatnot, but overall, like, it's just continued to get better and better. And so it's not like we call them on their BS, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I keep going, like, actually, I don't need to complain about it. You know, we complain and we call out things that we think are not good enough, right? So it's okay to say, you know, they've just been knocking it out of the park. Like, we play this game for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, we could go play the old world. If we thought the old world was a better game, we would play the old world. You know what I mean? Like, we're not beholden to anyone. 40k, same thing, you know? And I used to play 40k. Like, it, you know, the Ben Johnson effect. Yeah, I've heard it called that before. Did he like the army equals sin book? Did he not like the army bin book? Oof. Carson, you are allowed to be optimistic and like things. Exactly. People who get on your case about it are trying to drag you down and make themselves feel better. Don't let them. It's totally true. Like the biggest, like the worst. So like simping is like a term for people that don't know. It's for criminals that like pretend like they're not part of the thing, and they pretend to. I mean, that's the traditional definition. I guess in the modern sense, it really just means sucking up to them, or selling out. I guess that's probably the best definition for it right now, right?
Wait, what's your original definition?
The original definition, a simp was like a criminal who pretended to be like part of the crowd kind of deal or whatever, part of the other people, and then he would kind of like lead people on. And like,
are you using it as an acronym or is it not an acronym?
As an acronym? Oh,
yeah.
No, not an acronym.
Okay. The simp I know is much different, and it's an abbreviation or something, or an acronym, sorry.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's not family friendly.
Okay, then.
I'm not going to say it. It's fine. but
I'm assuming I know what
we're talking about. We're meaning the same thing ish.
Yes.
So, but yeah,
like we're by any definition not simping for GW. We don't. They don't deal with us. They don't send us anything. They don't give us anything. And it's like, so yeah, from what I understand, a simp was, in the traditional sense, was like it was like someone who worked with like a con artist. You know what I mean? Like someone would go up, like if you're playing like 3-card Monty or something like that, and then one guy would go up and he's part of their group, and then he would pretend to win money, so then it looks legit or something like that. Like, I'm not coming up with good examples, but
okay. My meaning is actually slightly different, where it's like you will like bend over backwards for whatever this thing is without any question whatsoever. Like you're just like, you're really letting them like take advantage of you kind of thing, and you're just like defending them at all costs,
right.
Even if you're in the wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, we can move on to something else.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like, everyone says pleb.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that stands for plebeian.
Plebeian, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it at the end of the day it means the same thing. It doesn't really matter how you pronounce it, right?
Yeah.
I like your hope, Carson. I think their willingness to beta test new ideas in the GHBs makes me feel like they are being careful and won't do anything drastic in 4.0. Totally agreed. Like they clearly seem to be doing that. And then, they even kind of realized like, oh, we picked 5 to be the number of units that didn't need to be in coherency. And that was clearly a mistake because of the sheer amount of things that were, that's another thing. I think they're going to change coherency a little bit. I
could see that.
I think what it should be is 2 inches.
Interesting.
Because, so like in AOS 1 and in AOS 1, everything was like 40k, where it was like, if you are within range of this thing, there was no wholly within. It basically didn't exist. Until the very end, I want to say they added it with like IDK or something like that. I don't even remember that. But, so then the problem was they didn't like conga lining, right? But guess what? They never got rid of it. There's things called bow ties, and the way that they made coherency, it just makes us move our models in these really weird and funky ways. Now, part of that will get solved with new, what's the word? Like combat ranges for melee. A lot of that actually just gets totally solved. But, like, I mean, and I'm fine with that. Like, I don't think it needs it. But that was the problem before. And they never got rid of conga lining. Like, guess what? Like, we still have bow ties. So it's not as necessary, and it just makes for more fiddliness, in my opinion. And that's what they have in 40k, and they've had it from ever since they've had coherency, which started in 9th edition 40k, and it's been 2 inches.
Yeah.
So
I think it's always going to be a battle of like how the game should play and like not making it feel gamey
yeah.
versus how the game should look.
Yep.
And like it looks really weird if you have like a massive screen of like 40 things that's just like up like all across the board.
And you do.
And you do.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen regardless.
It's just going to happen. I can't imagine, unless they started saying like every model has to be within X range, and then you're just like, F you, GW. Now you're just making things worse, you know? Like,
Unless
I agree. What's that?
Unless they just make coherency base to base.
That would be wild.
Yeah. That way it's like, here's the maximum size of your unit. If you want to string them out in a big line, go for it. But
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That would solve some things, but like just making sure, you know what I mean? Because things are fiddly and sometimes things stick out.
Yeah. But like one of the weirdest interactions is you have 25 millimeter base screens, right?
Yep.
An inch is 25.2 millimeters. So
25.4, I think, right?
It's whatever it is, it's a small
sorry.
decimal above
Yeah.
25 millimeters. And you have this weird thing where like you kind of have to explain to a new player, it's like, actually, I can put them in a straight line if they're base to base because the way that this math works out is yada, yada, yada. And it's just like a weird thing to have to know. And it's a weird thing to know, be like, actually, I can fight in 2 ranks because even if they're 1 inch, if they're base to base, it's technically less than an inch. And like, you can just keep doing that sort of stuff. And it feels gamey, even though like it is following the rules.
Yep.
And to not have to do stuff like that would be great.
Exactly. That's actually kind of my point. And I mean, no one knows the pain of explaining the whole 25 millimeters is less than an inch more than myself, because it came up in every comment, or not every comment, but it came up there was a comment in every battle report for like the first 2 years of Age of Sigmar. Like it's only more recently that we stopped having it. And yeah, I really didn't enjoy explaining it because yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it's basically like, I feel like I was like explaining it, and like half the time, I don't think most people who leave a comment on a video notice when you reply to them. There's a huge section of people that would leave something every time and then never check back. So it was frustrating for sure. Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like those sorts of situations are like a nightmare for me because I have a pretty quiet voice in real life. And I'm sure you know that I'm like a relatively quiet person in general. Like I'm fine to chat with people, but at a tournament, when I'm basically yelling at my opponent just to have them hear what I'm trying to say, and they're not in the know about like one of these weird rules interactions, I just kind of sit for a second. I go,
yeah.
And then I start like yelling at them that like, just so you know, an inch is 25 point blah, blah, million. And then like, it's just a horrible thing to have to do to explain why you're doing something a certain way. And yeah, the tournament situation, because it's always super loud in the room, like no one can hear each other properly, and having to explain like a super intricate rule is just a pain.
It's true. And it's something that like a lot of people, I just hate it because it's like you feel, you know, you're not being gamey, and you know that it's such to the point where this is the intention of the rules writers, you know what I mean? Because they never change it, but yet you still feel like you're being like that guy or gamey or whatever. And that I think is for me the worst part of it all. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to, Carson is your spirit animal. Yeah, I don't want to, like I really don't care. Like I'm not playing in tournaments. So, but like, you know, like I was the guy playing clan rats on movement trace because I just hated taking them off. And so I would just take less attacks from my clan rats and storm vermin just so I didn't have to deal with removing them from the base to get more attacks in. So I'm definitely not that guy, but I more than anything, I hate feeling like anyone might think I'm that guy. You know what I mean? And that's what it feels like when you're like, well, this is part of the game, you know, like, They're like, oh, really? You're really going to fight in 2 ranks deep on your clan rats, bro? It's like, yeah, they're hitting on 4s and wounding on 4s. Their odds of getting anything through are not great. Like, I need this, you know? I want something to happen. But yeah, so that would be great. That would be really awesome. As much as they can get rid of that, I'm for it. I'm here for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a ton of specific examples for stuff like that too, where you kind of have to actually someone, which sucks.
Yep.
And the more they can get rid of stuff like that, the better, for sure.
Yeah, and like, here's an example of something that isn't even in the game anymore, but modifiers in AoS 1 were applied after rerolls, right? And they used to have something called like reroll your failed saves, right? So you would like, let's say you had a 4-up save and they have a negative modifier of 1, that happened last. So if you got a 4, which was going to fail, you didn't get to re-roll it because that gets applied at the end. So it wasn't a failed roll when you made it. And I had to explain that to so many different people, and there's a lot of people that were just like, that makes no sense, and it makes me angry. And they got rid of it eventually because it was such a feels bad. But like having to explain to people, and that was the way it was designed, unfortunately, you know? So yes, and I think that they know that too. So I'm hopeful that they will continue to streamline that part as well, you know?
Yeah. It is a tough thing to balance on their end though, because like
it is for sure.
If you're making things just rock solid, super easy to understand, that can also come at the expense of depth.
Yep.
In gameplay.
Yep.
So I don't envy their situation for that, but
right.
I hope that it gets better.
Me too.
That would be my number one gripe, I think, is like people having to use things like precedent for rules to be like, well, this rule says this in this phrasing. So therefore, because we ruled it this way, this rule is this. And it's just like, why should we have to do that?
Yeah.
Like when someone's picking up the game and you have to explain that to them, I honestly probably just wouldn't in like an intro game to someone. I'd be like, don't worry about that. However you want to interpret it, we'll just do that.
Yeah.
That makes the most sense. But then having to like unlearn that from them if that person decides they want to become a competitive player is just like a frustrating situation to have to deal with. So
I totally agree. I mean, when you teach someone a game, I would suggest just KISSing it the whole way. Like I only play with battle tactics when in someone's first game if they demand it, you know. And it's not like I don't know how to use battle tactics, you know what I mean? But I'm just like, my recommendation is we don't use them. Focus on learning the turn order and all that jazz, because like by the time you get into this game properly, we'll probably be on a new GHB, you know. Like how long did it take you to paint your first army, right?
Yeah.
So
long time.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, some people never finish. You just explained how playing LRL felt. Yes, the rules say I'm allowed to do this. Don't look at me like that. I didn't write it. Yeah, man. Oh yeah, there is. We've all kind of felt like that way, I think, in our armies. We used to call them dead dice. Yeah. That reroll thing. I hope we can choose when we get to reroll, succeed or fail, because sometimes I do want to fail. Yes. Yeah. Like any time where it says you must do this, it's just less, what's the word? It's less of a positive interaction. Like most bodyguard rules say you may roll this, whereas the Skaven one, again, there's all these weird exceptions for Skaven. It just says you roll it. And then I think it says mother effer somewhere along there, somewhere nearby.
Sure it does.
It's just like mother effer, you're rolling this. And so as the Skaven player, like that's not even like something that you need to explain, but you kind of do, but it doesn't benefit anyone. And so it's just like you can almost like self-police it. because it's like, okay, well then what you end up doing is you keep your like 1 or 2 clan rats within 3 inches, and then you remove the other ones as you see fit. And if you don't want to roll them anymore, then you remove the ones that you want to get rid of, so you can start taking wounds on your Screaming Bell or whatever. And it becomes like way more complicated than it ever was intended to be, just because they forgot to put may or can in the text. And like that, there's no way that that's intentional. I can't imagine, you know. My biggest wish list for Age of Sigmar is that Thanquol is incentivized to have Warpstone crack. I said it. I said it, and I meant it. And that's it. That's all I really want, Carson.
I want to use Mournfang, and I want the Gargan hackers to be the correct choice.
Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah, because they look cooler. Yeah.
Yep.
I like it. I like it a lot. For AoS is Slanesh Skaven.
Oh God! Oh no! Oh no! That's terrifying.
There's a new section of porn I didn't realize I wanted.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. God dang. I'm not that much of a degenerate. Jesus. Have some faith in me. God, I don't know that I can repeat that. Underworlds reprints. Yep. That's happening. I think Bahamut might be like at the start of the show. But thanks for joining us, Bahamut, even if it's at the end. I hope you enjoy the show. Yeah, I mean, and what I said about Thanquol, like, obviously that's not my number one thing, but it is actually indicative of something that I hope that they do, which is like when they make a rule, it should make sense like within the characteristic of the army and or character, you know, like, and like, so like Thanquol from the old world was like constantly like doing Skaven cocaine essentially, right? And so ever since they had a book, he was incentivized not to do it. In AoS 1, just on his war scroll, he could like re-roll a casting or something like that and maybe take some wounds. But like, you know, as of AoS 2, they made an FAQ answer that literally incentivized him not to do the thing that he's always done since the old world. And that was really lame. So I do hope that they, as an overall rule for, and I hope that they, and I actually, you know, if we are talking about like, you know, you're talking about Gargant hackers and making Mournfang good and that kind of thing, I do hope that they continue and maybe even double down and make it better to make Skaven like want to take the play. You know what I mean? Like an example from AoS 2 to AoS 3 is in AoS 2, or at the end of AoS 2, I think it was, they made in Forgotten Realms, they made the warp fire throwers. If you overcharge it, then you rolled 2 dice for every thing within the thing, and then on a 4-up they take a mortal wound, and then on a 1 or 2 the thing just dies. You know what I mean? And then in AoS 3, when they got a book, they just made it, if you overcharge it, it's on a 3-up, and like, so no one ever overcharges it, and it's just like, that sucks. You know, even if you just make the consequences worse, like it's like a 4-up, or even I meant to say on a like before it was like a 1 in 3 chance. Even if you made it a 50-50 or like a 2/3 chance, this stupid rat is gonna blow up. I don't care. I want to do the risky plays. Like, this is why I'm here, right? So like, yeah, if I could ask for something specific for Skaven, it would be incentivize that my gambling addiction to playing this army. Yeah, that would be cool. But yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like Skaven as a faction attracts the biggest gamblers in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even into gambling. Like, I've never even gambled in a casino in my life.
I did it for the first time at LVO, and I was like, this kind of sucks.
You know, to be fair, maybe I just know that as a Skaven player, I should never gamble because I would be like a complete and utter animal. I don't think so, but like I'm too like I grew up in too poor a household. I think that I'm just like, nope. Any loss of money because the odds are you're going to lose money, so I don't want to lose any money. Like every cent counts, man. I don't. That's mine. Yeah. I mean, I think we have a good section of predictions here. Is there anything else that I mean, there probably is. You know what? We can add to this too. Like, this is a bookmark, but until we see the rules, I feel like there should probably be a cutoff. Like, maybe if we don't see anything by May, unless it's like, oh, what a good idea. Like, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I think we can add.
There's some of the stuff in here too is we won't know until the end of the edition. So like,
right, yeah, like
we're not
if we're
going to
gonna
know
get
that
Chaos Dwarves.
Yeah, what factions are going to be released?
Yeah,
we don't know. Yeah,
that's true. But we can, luckily Google Docs don't charge a maintenance fee to keep them around. So, and
Yep.
we've labeled it correctly, so we can search it and find it, even as it gets buried by more and more Google Docs that I continue to make. So yeah. And so, I think we'll call it here, but, thanks to the chat, you guys were awesome. There's a lot of you, and it was really fun, and you guys were hilarious. A lot of new faces, which I appreciated. But if you're watching this in the future, what are your predictions? Did you agree with ours? Did you disagree with ours? That's perfectly okay. Put them in the comments section. I would love to hear. It's not okay, Cars. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, stinky.
Unacceptable.
Can't disagree. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. And thank you so much to everyone for joining us. You guys were hilarious as usual. I'm sorry if I missed any comments. We're doing our best, but we really enjoyed having you. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.